posted by a throwaway account titled, "I am at a loss as to what to do with my 54 male wife, 51 females request." My wife and I have been married since 2001 and together since 1999. She is the most intelligent, thoughtful, caring, loyal person that I know, and I've always thought of myself as fortunate that I've met and married her. She is, even today, aesthetically beautiful, and men have told her this throughout our marriage. She has always shot them down. Earlier this year, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer, stage 1, and had a full hysterectomy. I was never concerned about the cancer. It was diagnosed early, dealt with quickly, and she made a full recovery. I took time off of work to look after her after the surgery, and all seemed well. There was some to-be-expected emotional instances on her part, and although I'm not an emotional person, we dealt with them together. After her recovery, she was insistent that we start living life to the fullest, and took a 10-day trip to Europe, followed by a trip to Belize. We also have a trip to the UK and Spain and Portugal later this year. I'm fine with these things, building memories and crossing bucket list adventures off her and our list. I also understand that these are a result of feeling fragile on her part. She also took up yoga, swimming, and healthy cooking classes. I was fully on board until last week. Last week, she came home from work and told me that she wanted a hall pass, a one-time opportunity for her to have sex with someone else besides me. She said that since her cancer diagnosis, her outlook on life has changed, and she doesn't want to be handcuffed from doing things that she wants to do. She explained that there is this guy at her work that she has always had some attraction to. He is leaving the company, and she will never see him again, so this is a perfect opportunity to sleep with someone else. She said that I could say no, of course, but that she would be mad or disappointed at me for an indeterminate amount of time, and that it would be confirmation of my male toxicity and insecurity. I don't consider myself to be toxic, and if not wanting your wife of 20 plus years to have sex with someone else is insecure, then I guess I am insecure. I told her that I appreciated her talking to me about this, but approval via coercion is not approval. I also told her that I do not appreciate her language in describing my, as of yet unknown reaction to this very large issue that could affect the rest of our marriage and life. I got up in the morning and she basically said that she was sorry for putting such a large decision solely on my shoulders, and that to help, she was taking the decision away from me. She booked a hotel near where her co-workers are having a party/send-off for this guy, and she would spend the night there, with him, and hoped that I would be here when she got back. That she would answer any questions I have about the night after it happened, but not before. She will not tell me who he is, or anything about him, because she knows me too well, and that I will dwell on it and obsess over him. And that would make it too real for me, which is pretty accurate. Her point of view is that the less I know, the better, which contradicts the offer to tell me anything that I want to know after it happened. I think she knows that I won't want to know or ask anything, or she simply will not tell me. Part of me thinks, at least she's been honest with me, and she's been through a lot since finding out she had cancer, so maybe I should just let it happen. I certainly have no concept of what she went through, so I cannot dismiss how this affected her mental state/outlook on life. Part of me wants to put my foot down and say this is not going to happen, and deal with the consequences when they happen. Her BFF called me callous for even suggesting that I wouldn't let it happen because I have no idea what she went through. I find it hard to believe that she is okay with the possibility of throwing away 20 plus years of marriage over some guy that she has had no relationship with outside of work, and that I should just call her bluff. Maybe she thinks similarly that I won't throw away the marriage because of one encounter. I just don't know what to do. I empathize with her, and then an instant later I am angry with her. Part of me wants to know who the guy is. What does he look like? What has he got that is so enthralling for her? Is he just a safe option? Is he married? Does his wife know? Would I be a callous asshole for saying no? What can I do besides walking away? I guess you're stuck at an impasse, OP. I don't really think there is a good way forward from this based on your perspective of the marriage. You know, if there are like agreed upon polyamorous-esque attributes in your relationship with your wife, where you guys are like swinging, or you're used to having different partners, I can see a whole pass being a thing, but from the way that you're describing this, yes, this is becoming all too real for you. And the way that it's being presented by your wife She's aware that this is just straight up cheating. She's taken away your ability to have a decision in this. To me, it looks like you're going down the path of not accepting this one, and this is potentially going to destroy your marriage. You're not the one destroying your marriage. Your wife is going down a very slippery slope, from what it seems like, a very unacceptable slope, and I think she knows what she's doing is wrong. I see a very big potential issue here being that if you don't put your foot down and make an example of this now, she will continue to push the envelope in the future, and I don't think you're going to be happy with that. To me, it looks like your paths in life have dramatically diverged from one another, and I personally don't see this marriage lasting if she goes through with this, which it seems as though she's made that choice. In the comments, Bioral Beats says, I kinda think this is the way that your marriage will be from now on. With her epiphany, she wants to relive her life, and she is going to do it regardless of your feelings. I think she's being rather selfish and probably only threatens this because she thinks you are beaten down and will simply put up with it. Perhaps not the best time for trips and frills. She wants the single life, and let her see what that means. Yeah, her attitude makes me think this is not a one-time hall pass. It wouldn't surprise me if she's already cheated. Not to mention, if her plans are so concrete with this dude, she has almost certainly discussed it with him. Just that much indicates an emotional affair, and makes physical stuff in the past more probable too. Chuckin Hutek says, this is sad. I'd tell her this. Let me be clear. You have taken away no decision from me that is mine to make. You are free to decide to abandon your vows on your own. Your willingness to preemptively insult any negative feelings that I might have about this is a clear indication that you are all out of F's to give here where I'm concerned. Let's just say that I hear you. My announcements of my own decisions will be forthcoming on my own timetable. Oh, and just so that you cannot ever argue to the contrary, you most certainly do not have a hall pass from me. I will consider cheating to be cheating, and more so because this is willful and pre-planned. It's cheating in the first degree. While you may think that you get moral credibility for honesty, that is not how it works. You don't get credit for being honest. You just get dinged for being dishonest. And OP replies, thank you for your input, but I don't think she cares. I think she is so confident in me not going anywhere that she is going to do what she wants. It's up to me to accept it or not, I guess. OP, I am so sorry. Not only is she completely an arsehole here, but she's taking you for granted and just expects you to deal with it. She took away your opportunity for input because she knew she wouldn't like the answer. Now I think you need to pack a bag and take some time for yourself. Inform her that she is more than able to choose to do something, and you will take the decision for what happens after off of her shoulders. Why does he pack a bag? Change the locks the night she goes to the hotel, pack her a bag, and leave it on the doorstep. Maybe check if it's legal first. I would report her to the police for psychological abuse, because that is what this is, and they could then okay the lock thing. Is that a thing? I've literally never heard of that before. Can someone tell me in the comments if the police would take this seriously if he reported her for psychological abuse? You are not callous or insecure. Changes to the marriage require 2 yeses, and if there is 1 no, either that item doesn't happen or you get divorced. Unfortunately, your wife has decided that she wants to be single and is doing this so you will leave, but she won't take the blame of being the one choosing to end the marriage because she gave you a heads up first. That's why her friends are on her side about it. OP says, I don't know where her head is, and the bout with cancer is affecting her in ways that I couldn't possibly imagine. I don't think she believes that I will leave. Did her cancer affect you? Of course it did. You had to come to terms with losing the love of your life. You had to start thinking of life without her. You had to help her through it. It brought you closer to her. And now she does this? She's thinking that she's the only one to take stock of her life? I'm sorry, she needs to seek therapy before she destroys a loving marriage, and not her friends being the therapist. Update. I received a ton of advice that I couldn't possibly respond to. I do appreciate the people who took time to offer advice in the comments or via PM. It has been an exhausting couple of days. I was hoping that my opposition to her plans would give her pause, but unfortunately, that did not happen. I said I am a hard no, and I'm not sure how I will feel about you if you go ahead with it. I was met once again with, this is for me, it will be one time. What can I say to help you deal with it? You'll get over it. We were meant to be, regardless of the situation. Remarks leading up to Saturday. She left on Saturday, ostensibly to meet her co-workers, but in reality to screw the guy. I asked her to text me when she was leaving for the bar, and when she did, I asked her if she was really going to go through with this. After her response, "I am not answering any more questions tonight, I will see you tomorrow," I blocked my wife. Then I did something either stupid or brilliant. I went to the bar where the get-together was happening. Well, not the bar, but a transit bench across the street. I waited for a long time. It was running through my mind and leading up to this event that I needed to know who this guy was, maybe to compare myself against him, to see what he had that I do not. It was driving me crazy not knowing who he was and what was so special about him that she would ruin a marriage for. After what seemed like eternity, a woman that I recognized from my wife's office left the bar and got in a cab. Soon, other people started filing out, and a whole group came out, and people were hugging a man and shaking his hand. I assumed that I had my guy. I didn't see my wife, and had a brief thought that maybe she called it all off. I unblocked her, and there were no messages. Everyone said their goodbyes and left. The dude was standing outside for a few minutes, and then my wife came out. She looked around, took his hand, and started walking away together. Of all the emotions I went through, trepidation, sadness, anger, it was disgust that really encapsulated the event for me. This guy was short, fat, and bald, all the things I cannot compete with. Ultimately, I felt like a pervert for watching from a distance. I followed until they got to the hotel, and then turned around and went home. I woke up Sunday morning and put a lock on the master bedroom door. I moved her things to the spare room and left her a note asking her to find other accommodations as quickly as possible. I visited another friend who was a lawyer, and he gave some sage advice and a couple of recommendations for divorce attorneys and made the introductions. My wife had been calling me numerous times since around 11 or so. Once blocked, the calls go to voicemail. I listened to the first couple, but felt nothing but some satisfaction when she couldn't get through to me, and she was obviously becoming concerned. I didn't want to go home, but I left in such a hurry that I didn't plan an overnight properly. I got home at around 9, and as per my buddy's advice, I recorded the interaction. I was halfway up the stairs when she came up from the family room asking what was going on. Could we talk? I thought we talked about this. I just answered with, "I am not interested in discussing this tonight," and went to bed. After not getting a response from me through the door, she left me alone. I feel like kind of a child for not talking with her and shutting the door on her, but I just couldn't look at her. On Monday, I got up and ready for work. She was waiting for me and asked if we could discuss getting back to normal. I said, "You had been doing all the talking for the both of us for the last week. Why don't you continue?" and left for work. I have an appointment with the attorneys my friend recommended for this week. In the comments, Mythical995 says, "I'm sorry for this, my dear friend, but you were doing the right thing by divorcing her. She tormented you for a week to sleep with a guy, and when she did sleep with him, she was unsatisfied and tried coming back to you. Hold strong and go through with the divorce. Your wife has not only cheated on you, but she's disregarded your feelings and has been very manipulative, and even got her friends to guilt trip you. Often people after a successful cancer treatment fall for their spouse harder, especially when the spouse is as supportive as you were. But your wife chooses to act like a 20-year-old throwing away your marriage for sex. You still have time in this world. You can find another faithful woman, or you can enjoy being alone. Don't be afraid to lose your assets during divorce, but do fight for it as much as you want. Material things are not worth your self-worth and mental health. Good luck, OP. Hoping for a positive update soon." GhostDog813 says, "He should have gone up to them at the hotel and said, 'So this is how you're choosing to end our marriage?' At that point, she made up her mind and was committed to the point of going to the hotel with him. Why not hopefully ruin her magical night with guilt? And if the guy has any moral compass or real feelings for her, would realize he helped ruin her marriage for a final roll in the hay. Quote, 'You've been doing all the talking for the both of us for the last week. Why don't you continue?' I'm so proud of him. That last line was perfect. Chef's kiss. But she was doing him a favor by taking such a hard choice out of his hand. That has got to be some next level justification. Like, that floored me. I had to read it back because surely she didn't say that. And what kind of awful best friend does she have that disregards how much her husband cared for her through treatment? Disgusting behavior. Sounds like a best friend who really hates men. Because she said best friend says that it's toxic masculinity. There are many things that are toxic masculinity. Expecting your spouse to remain faithful to you, as they agreed to, is not one of them. I bet if he asked for a hall pass too, that they would both say hard no. His wife died when she got cancer. Who she is now is not the same person. Poor dude. The casual disregard for a life partner of 20 plus years is shocking. I'm going to do this thing to betray you. I look forward to you getting over it. That is not a relationship. That is not mutual respect and caring and understanding. Cancer sucks. There is no better way to put it. But it doesn't give you a hall pass to disregard the people in your life. I feel like a comment like that is the best way to end this story. A cancer diagnosis is absolutely not an excuse to just unilaterally decide that you get a hall pass. I think this was the only real outcome of this situation. I don't think OP would have got a good deal if he just dealt with it like the wife wanted him to. It does indeed seem as though the person that OP once knew did die with that cancer diagnosis. Just not a fun situation to be stuck in, and I'm glad that OP is getting out of there and moving forward with their own life. Anyway guys, I'd love to know what you think of this one down in the comments below. Any other similar experiences? Our next post is by user Darling Dear, titled, Am I the asshole for cooking food while my roommate's girlfriend was here and offering her some? I, 21 male, am from the South. I grew up in New Orleans in Texas. My mum runs a catering business and the majority of clients were either at home in Louisiana or in Texas. I add this to say that I grew up cooking and helping my mum cook for the business. I was frying chicken and catfish when I could reach the stove and making gumbo and buttermilk biscuits at a very young age. I'm currently in culinary school right now. I've lived in a rented house on the East Coast with my roommate, 22 male, for a year and a half. He's not a friend or anything. We just linked up because we both needed roommates in the area. He's good to live with and we watch shows and movies together. We hang out and go for drinks sometimes. I always make friends easy because of being from the South and doing customer service related things since I was a kid. I know how to talk and charm and listen to folk despite being naturally more in the introverted spectrum. My roommate has been seeing his girlfriend, 20 male, for like 6 months. I've met her before and seen her in passing. Roommate and his girlfriend had a 2-week break from school things. She still lives at her parents', so she decided to stay here the whole 2 weeks. I was just doing things as I would normally do. It got weird at first when I was about to mow the lawn and the roommate stopped me and said that he wanted to mow. I usually always mow. A couple of days later, I was outside washing my car. I asked both of them if they wanted me to do theirs. She looked like she was going to agree, but he looked at her angrily, so they declined. I cook pretty frequently at home as well, and usually let my roommate have some. So anytime I'd make some, I would say that they could have some, and this would get him pissed off. Weeks prior, when she was here and we were all talking, she mentioned this specific kind of cheesecake that she really likes. So I made and sent out a group text that everyone could have it. My roommate got upset. I don't see anything as overstepping a boundary, as this is how I treat him and all guests. The other day, he told me how annoying it was to hear his girlfriend talk about how good your roommate's fresh-baked bread is. I'm not trying to make him look bad or anything. This is just simply how I was raised. If I bake 2 loaves of bread, I'm gonna leave it out for the house to eat. Edit. The cheesecake is just common courtesy type thing to me. When his parents come over, I make pound cake because they like it. If a guest is coming, you get or make what they like. Nothing odd about picking up their favorite chips or making some tea when guests arrive. Just how I was raised. Edit. Wow, this is blown up. Just want to say that we generally have a good roommate relationship. We're not best friends, but it's friendly enough. The only change has been when his girlfriend is here. So lol, no, I'm not looking for a new roommate or to be adopted or to move, but thanks. Here are some more things that upset him. I went to the grocery store and asked if anyone needed anything. I was frying chicken and offered the first and best pieces out of the oil to them. I changed the oil to my own car. I used a smoker in the backyard to make brisket. I grill and smoke in the backyard and needed a piece of wood cut into a certain way to hold something up. I cut and nailed some wood together in the garage. It just feels like I can't even exist while she's here. Final edit. I tend to see the good and best in people, so I was not seeing him as being very insecure and was trying to look at this in a more positive light. But he just texted me and said that I greet his girlfriend in too kind of a way, and it's annoying that I say be safe when she leaves the house. I say this to him and everyone when they tell me that they're going to go somewhere. He sent me a long text detailing it's bad that I look her in the eyes when she's talking to me. Maybe it's time for a new roommate. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I am offering to do the manly duties in front of his girlfriend. Could make me look like an asshole. It's really just insecurity, isn't it? He's not stepping up to the plate, and instead of building himself up, he's deciding to bring you down. Does he think his girlfriend's an idiot? Does he think you're an idiot, that these people around him can't see what he's doing? Like, I more than understand there are definitely people out there stupid enough to think that, but it's mind-boggling that it continues to happen. I'd be genuinely surprised if this relationship that he's got with her lasts another 6 months. After she sees him acting like this, if she has her head screwed on straight, she will leave him. But yeah, thus far, not the asshole OP. I don't know what the hell's gone into this guy's head. In the comments, Melon Drew says, not the asshole. You are raising a bar that he doesn't want raised by getting things done. He wants to pretend that he is a better partner than he is. He also doesn't want you to highlight things that he isn't interested in doing. In a way, you are unintentionally showing that he isn't made of the best partner material. Keep doing as you are. He is being ridiculous. Exactly what I thought. OP is raising the bar, and Mr. Bare Minimum doesn't like it one bit. It reminds me of when my roommate started training for an Ironman. I implicitly started to question my own non-existent fitness routine when I'd see or hear him waking up early to go run, go off on his bike for hours, etc., and eventually I questioned it enough to get myself back in the habit of getting regular exercise. It's just something that we do in our lizard brains. Compare ourselves with people that we are close with. If those comparisons are unflattering, you can either use it to motivate yourself or justify your inaction by tearing someone down. OP clearly chose the latter. Actually, this is a higher order brain function and requires a lot of self-realization, mirroring, and other higher brain functions. Mental Composer says, so he's okay with you feeding him, but has a problem when you offer to feed his girlfriend who just happens to be in the house. It's not like you only cook when she's there. Why? Is he afraid that you're going to steal her with food? Is he afraid she's only hanging out with him because you feed her? Ask Rumi what the problem is, and then stop doing what he doesn't like. If that means not feeding her, then stop feeding him too. You sound like a great roomie. You mow and offered to wash their cars? Who does that? You're like Southern hospitality on steroids. On the part of, is he afraid you're gonna steal her with food? I pictured a laundry basket propped up with a stick with cheesecake as bait. Lol. You can steal me like that any day of the week. Free cheesecake? Sign me up. Lol, not the asshole. If another guy mowing the lawn and cooking is enough to make him insecure, he's probably not doing anything useful himself. 100% agree, not the asshole. And look, a partner that can cook is always attractive, but he should be asking for a bread recipe, not throwing a fit over free food. Update. A lot of people wanted an update. I wanted to see my roommate in a more positive light. I tend to try to see the best in people, but reading the replies and his recent actions have opened my eyes. I never took him too seriously, because he's a pretty harmless little guy in my perspective. There is a big difference in how he lashes out at me compared to his girlfriend. He's gotten big tough with me in text form, but only mildly upset when I see him in person. I have taken a step back and looked at anything I could have done to provoke him, not excusing his behavior, and while I don't believe I'm in the wrong for being hospitable and hosting a guest, if a 75-year-old man was staying with us, I would treat him the same way as I've treated his girlfriend. I do realize that he's not from the South. I was told by others in school that women outside the South don't enjoy being called ma'am. However, I've never seen a lady get angry if I did call her ma'am up here. I call women of all ages dear or darling, and I could see how that could be seen as flirtatious, even though it's just part of how I speak. Now that he knows that I've seen him in his true form, he doesn't even try to act the way that he did before. I sent his girlfriend screenshots of the texts he sent and told her the things that he has said. I'm not sure if she's leaving him or staying, but I've let her know and told her to let me know if she needs any help. I don't plan on moving anytime soon, as I enjoy having room for a grill and smoker and a garage. He's told me he's looking for new places to live and will potentially go back to his parents. I make enough working at a restaurant to afford the rent alone. I would like more going into savings, but I'm not worried financially for the time being. I am flattered and overwhelmed by all the positive replies. About 100 of you told me to thank my mum, so I sure will. I grew up working in hospitality with my mum and siblings. My dad is the one that instilled respect into me. He never felt emasculated even when my mum's business ended up making more than he does. They just save their money from their jobs and go on vacations a lot. Thank you for all the kindness and offers for adoption, jobs, relationships, friendships, lol. A lot of people wanting gumbo and chicken recipes. Too much to type out, but I use curry powder in a lot of things to give it some good flavor. That's how my mum does it. White pepper is essential for that good fried chicken flavor. In the comments, Cynical Mage says, so his roomie, upon seeing basic decency and manners, instead of raising his own bar, decided to be an utterly pathetic wet wipe of a human being. Seriously, if someone else makes you look bad for the way that you treat a girlfriend or whatever, just maybe consider, I don't know, doing and being better? Reading the list of things that upset the roommate, you could hear his screaming masculine insecurity a mile away. OP has basic carpentry skills, basic auto skills, takes pride in hospitality, and is an amazing cook. Hell, I'm insecure reading about all of it, but insecurity and jealousy is incredibly unattractive. If he would have just embraced it and been like, hell yes, sweetheart, Roomie's biscuits are just another perk a date in me, it would have been totally fine. If I were him, I would have just asked the OP to teach me some new skills. People are lazy. Meanwhile, I'm reading his list of things that enraged his roommate, and I'm thinking, none of this is weird? And I'm an almost 40 woman. Then I realize I grew up in a sort of rural area, and we all had shop, auto, home ec classes in the schools I went to, and I had the skills to make basic wooden furniture and bake pies and use sewing machines by the time I was 13 in order to pass the grade and to move on to high school. It goes beyond not being weird. Half the stuff didn't even involve the roommate's girlfriend or the roommate. Changing his own car's oil, crafting something he needed, smoking a brisket, not even that he'd offered them some brisket, just that he was doing it. This had little to do with OP or the roommate's girlfriend. It was all the roommate and his own insecurities. He was probably afraid that OP was making him look incompetent or even just lazy, but instead of trying and learning how to do stuff that he didn't know how to do, he decided that it was easier to try to get OP to stop doing them, tearing OP down instead of building himself up. Posted by user Lady Savings, titled, Am I the Asshole? My husband accused me of financial infidelity. Husband, 33 male, and I, 33 female, have been married for 10 years, together since college. Ever since starting out, we have made financial security a priority and have been able to achieve that, albeit with some good luck along the way. We both have good jobs, paying close to $200K each. Student loans were paid off within a few years. Both went to state schools with some scholarships, so didn't have a lot of debt to begin with. We live in a house that I inherited from my grandmother, no mortgage, and don't have any credit card debt. We max out our 401ks and currently have 18 months of expenses in our emergency fund and are still adding to it. Our cars are both paid off and should be good for another 5+ years, and we don't have any credit card debt. We manage our finances in a hybrid manner. Joint accounts for bills and savings, and separate accounts for our fun money. We each get a pretty generous monthly allotment. The fun money is strictly for our individual expenses, hobbies, clothes, outings with friends, etc., and not for things like date nights, vacations, or larger joint purchases like household appliances and repairs, which come out of our joint account. We also agreed that if either of us gets any bonuses, or any side hustle income, those will go into our individual fun money accounts, unless the funds are needed for a large expense, such as a major home repair. In terms of the fun money, my husband is much more of a spender than I am due to expensive hobbies, in particular golf and collecting sports memorabilia, and he's also more into designer clothes, which is fine, it's his fun money. On the other hand, my hobbies are a lot less expensive. Running and working out, reading and baking. In general, I'm more introverted, and a great time for me is tea with a friend at one of our homes, with homemade pastries. I have also been getting back into gaming lately after setting it aside for much of the past decade while building my career. After realizing I had more than enough in my fun money account, I decided to overhaul my gaming setup and got myself a new PC, desk, and gaming chair. Total cost of about $5,000. However, upon hearing about the purchase, my husband is furious. He says he had no idea I had saved so much money and that I should have consulted him before spending $5,000. I asked what difference it made if it was my own accrued fun money and not our joint funds, and he insisted that my accumulating this amount without telling him was a form of financial infidelity. He says he lost trust in me and doesn't know what else I might be hiding. He is demanding that I return the items I purchased and deposit most of the funds to our joint account. He wants to make a new rule that fun money accounts can't accumulate more than $2,000 and that any excess goes back into the joint account. A rule that would obviously favor him as a person who spends most of his allotment each month instead of saving up for anything bigger. I feel like I'm being punished for being more of a day-to-day saver than spender. It wouldn't occur to me to demand to know how much my husband has in his fun money account or to try to micromanage what he spends it on. I wasn't hiding anything deliberately. He never asked about it until I made the purchases. Still, maybe I should have been more transparent about my plans. So, am I the asshole? Miscellaneous info. Husband and I each have our own office/hobby room in the house, so it's not like the gaming setup was going in a space that he uses. I don't usually game when my husband is home unless he's already busy doing something else. My biggest block of gaming time is typically when he's off playing golf. Also, I run 40 to 50 miles a week, so it's not like I'm generally sedentary. I can't think of a good reason why he would object to me gaming or having a nice gaming setup in my own space in the house. Oh my god, you run a marathon every week? That is a champion effort right there. It doesn't make any sense in my head why he would think that this is financial infidelity and why you would be hiding more things from him. When he married you, he's been with you for 10 years, he knows exactly what you're like. One can only wonder if he's projecting in this instance, because it's not normal. This is a serious overreaction from something that should not be a big deal at all. You've put gaming on hold for 10 years? You want to upgrade your setup now? But instead of him reacting like a normal person, he's blowing up at you and accusing you of cheating. It's either that or he wants extra money week in, week out, and this is his way of forcing you to give him that extra money because you're not a spender like him. And I don't know which one is more likely in this circumstance, but I don't think you're an asshole for your reaction to this. I don't think you should have been more transparent about your plans. He knows you. He knows what you're like. Why would you need to be more transparent? Is there no trust in this relationship? Why doesn't he trust you? With that said, I'm just gonna have to go with not the asshole for this. What is his problem? In the comments, Lost Dragon 05 says, not the asshole. He sounds super controlling and greedy. My wife and I manage our finances in a similar way. She spends her money on whatever she wants, and I blow mine on outdoor stuff and video games. We have joint checking and savings for household expenses, kids, vacations, etc. I'd sit him down and tell him how he chooses to spend his own money is his business, and how you spend yours is your business. He agreed to this arrangement and doesn't get to change the rules because he chooses to manage his own money differently than you, and you aren't going to return anything because he's acting like a spoiled man-child who didn't get a new toy when you did. OP responds, I actually had or have a lot more than 5k saved. We have had this arrangement for a few years, and I typically only spend about $500 of my allotted $1,500 per month. Maybe a bit more some months if I need to replace my running shoes, buy other clothes, or have any outings with friends planned like concerts, but in that range. So if you were sick for a few weeks and didn't spend any fun money, by the next month it would go over his 2k limit, and he would get $1,000 of your fun money as punishment for you not spending it all right away? The over amount is literally less than 2 months worth. That is insane. The fact that he has never had more than 2k in his fun account shows he is stupid with money and spends it constantly. He is being greedy and throwing around words like infidelity to try to corner you into feeling like the bad guy. I think you really might need to run a background check to see if he's in debt. You need to do some checking, OP. It could be that he's controlling, or the issue could be that he is in debt. If he's overspent his allotment and has run up credit card debt too, he may be looking for a way to pay it off. Also, his throwing around words like infidelity worries me. People often project. I'm not saying anything is going on, but if he's spending more than he should and running up debt, wouldn't that truly be financial infidelity? Especially if he's spending it on a friend group. Also, I think you challenged his view of you. Your other hobbies are quiet ones, more solitary in nature. Gaming can be quite a social hobby depending on how you do it. Suddenly, you appear financially and socially independent to him. But yeah, obviously not the asshole. But also, do not be bullied into changing the agreement. Do look into his finances. John Bennett Palm says, not the asshole. This isn't a money issue. It's a control issue. Seems like you've spooked him by showing that you can quietly amass funds out of sight. You are making a good income and have few expenses, so $5K should not be that big of a deal regardless of the circumstance. The only reason it is because your spouse thinks that he should have a say in your spending. Red freedom. I'm not saying that this is abusive behavior. It could be something else, but this is a thing that abusers do. Better to nip it in the bud. Do not agree to the new 2K limit. Push back. It's funny that he's accusing you of financial infidelity when he's trying to manipulate you into handing over the money that you saved. This is a naked money grab, not the asshole. OP replies, yes, it does feel like he's trying to change the rules and make me feel guilty about not spending all my extra money right away. However, this is one of the main reasons I thought separate discretionary accounts was a good idea. Ironically, I thought it would prevent arguments about what we should be spending on or saving. Update. My husband finally calmed down enough to have a conversation with me. As many others who provided comments suggested, it wasn't really about the money, but a window into larger issues in our relationship. Essentially, my husband has been feeling increasingly unhappy with me for a while for the following reasons. In general, he feels that he's a lot more committed to his career development than I am to mine. It's true that although we currently have about the same income, the ceiling for his field, finance, is a lot higher than the one for mine, tech/software dev. He's currently in an executive training program, and I'm decidedly not. He is feeling resentful that he is having to work long hours in a high-pressure environment, while I get to work primarily at home doing something that is fun and fairly easy for me, and I'm not stretching myself to do more. He's concerned that over time these resentments are going to build, and that I'm not going to end up pulling my weight financially if he takes huge leaps in his career and I don't. He remarked that since getting back into gaming a few months ago, I've been putting a bit less effort into cooking. I do nearly all the cooking because I work at home and have an easier schedule. It's true that I've been fixing simpler meals, things like grilled chicken salads or chili with cornbread, instead of elaborate meals with fussier foods and several sides. He has also noticed that I haven't been doing the elaborate table settings that I used to, with flowers on the table, fancy placemats, etc. Honestly, I didn't realize he noticed or cared about this, but apparently he does. Acts of service are one of his main love languages, so overall, he's feeling a little neglected because of this. He also feels that I'm not putting enough effort into my appearance, not in terms of weight and body, I'm a long-distance runner and slim, but in terms of things like clothes, hair, etc. It's true that I've never paid much attention to these things. Given that I'm at home in tech, the standard for appearances is extremely low, and I far exceed that. I tend to buy simple, practical clothes at places like Target and Walmart, don't wear much makeup, and keep my hair in a simple ponytail. I do glam up a lot more for date nights and other dressy occasions, but most days he comes home from work and finds me in a t-shirt and yoga pants with no makeup, and he wants me to make more of an effort. The bottom line is that because of all these things, he's starting to notice other women. Says he hasn't cheated, he's just noticing other people because he's regularly disappointed in me. In particular, given that he works in finance, there are a good number of very career-oriented, type A women who manage to have fantastic bodies, be effortlessly polished and glam, and have more interesting hobbies. He also says that he feels horrible about all of this because he knows I'm a good person and that he's being judgmental, that it's not so much that I've changed as that his own goals and expectations have changed in the past couple of years. The financial infidelity part came into it because he feels I'm not really investing into myself and our relationship, thus cheating on our future, in a sense. He also says that he loves me enough to be honest. I do believe he isn't trying to be hurtful. I really had to drag this all out of him. That he doesn't want us to drift apart further, that he doesn't want to be angry and resentful, and he knows he is asking for a lot. I know that many on this sub might say that I should just tell him to take a hike and call my lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, have invested a lot into the relationship, and I want to see if the marriage can be saved. So, a couple things. First, we did make an appointment with a marriage counselor and start next week. Also, I'm going to try to do at least some of the above. I'm not sure about making myself be more professionally ambitious when I'm already happy with my work-life balance, and we're already financially very comfortable, but I can at least try doing the other things, return to spending more time on cooking and decor, and fix myself up a bit more when he's on his way home from work, now that I know that they are important to him. I also know that in the end, I may feel like I am just tiptoeing around and contorting myself to please him, but it won't cost me much. Certainly much less than a divorce, to try for a month or two and then see how we both feel, and I know that I would always regret it if I didn't try. So maybe not the update that you were expecting or hoping for, but that's where things are. And if folks continue to be interested, I can update further once we've started marriage counseling and once I can feel out how the changes are going. In the comments, more in depth of their relationship / what she wants / what he feels, apparently. To answer your questions, yes, we each currently make about 200k, so 400k between the two of us. And yes, his concern is that he's going to get promoted to a much higher salary executive position. He's currently being mentored and trained for such a position, which will pay 500k plus, and is due to be promoted in the next couple of years if all goes well with the mentoring program. And I'll fall behind in earnings. Granted, we don't need the money for anything as we don't have debt of any kind, don't have and aren't planning on having kids, and already have close to 1 million in retirement savings with 30 plus years left to work. But he's feeling like I'm going to be somehow riding his coattails, taking advantage of him, coasting while he just works harder and harder with longer and longer hours? All of the above, I suppose. In terms of meals, yes, I do all the prep, cooking, table setting, and cleanup. I do actually really enjoy it, and part of it is self-care for me, not just taking care of him. After all, I get to eat the food too. And as I work at home, I usually make enough that I can have food for lunch the next day too. I know this doesn't seem fair, and that others probably think that he should contribute more, but really it doesn't bother me at all, as long as he does enjoy and appreciate it. In terms of work, I'm usually done by 5 to 6 p.m, and these days he doesn't get home until about 9 p.m, so I wouldn't have to wear makeup and dressy clothes for work. I could just quickly change and fix my hair and makeup when he's on his way home. I don't think the clothes necessarily need to be designer. I can buy blouses and skirts and dresses at Target just as well as t-shirts and yoga pants. Or shop thrift stores or department store sales. I do agree that the women he is comparing me to probably don't wear fancy clothes and makeup at home. He's just seeing them in professional settings that require formal business dress. Anyway, I appreciate you saying I haven't done anything wrong here. Another commenter says that there is a difference between a preference and a boundary, and OP says, it's true that he did use the word boundary in our conversation where he revealed his unhappiness with me. As in, I have realized it's a boundary for me to be able to come home to a nicely dressed wife who has prepared a thoughtful meal. And yes, I do realize that completely misuses the word boundary. ShotShow2409 says, he's proposing that someone making 200k a year won't pull their weight financially? He's an idiot. I'd take my massive salary and leave. Don't let the sunk cost fallacy keep you with someone who doesn't respect you or even seem to like you. This is what is crazy to me. Like, dude, I wish I had OP's job. 200k in tech, work from home with good life balance, that's the dream. And then OP's husband is like, my work-life balance sucks, so yours should too. Hell no. He's upset that he's working in a high-stress executive environment and she doesn't have to. My dude, you don't have to either. It's a choice. I want to point out something. You keep saying his love language is acts of service, but what acts of service does he do for you? My love language is quality time and gifts. So I like to do things like figure out tickets to a show someone would like and go and see it with them, or just simply a DVD of a movie that I think they'd like. a gift that lets me spend time with them. It's how I express my love for people, and I feel appreciated when people do similar things for me in return. But if he is not giving acts of service, then bull effing shit is his love language acts of service. That's just his excuse to demand servility from you while offering you nothing in return. All I'm hearing is that he wants a homemaker, a trophy wife, and a career wife all in the same box while bringing nothing but his career to the table. He sees other women in his work atmosphere and thinks they got it all when I know plenty of executives who are complete messes when it comes to home life, but give an amazing front at work. Back up to the post, there is an edit. I need to call it a night, but once again, thank you to everyone for your responses. They were really eye-opening and helped me to see that I do deserve better than the way that I am being treated, and that the expectations my husband is laying out for me are unfair and unrealistic, especially as he isn't doing anything at all to make it easier for me to meet them or to show me that he appreciates my efforts and everything I do bring to the table. I am indeed conditioned to be very people-pleasing, and that is impacting what I think is reasonable here. I have a lot to think about, such as what do I really want here? What is going to make me happy, especially if I have to keep making myself smaller, metaphorically speaking, and contorting myself to please my husband? Do I really want to be in a marriage under those conditions? I think I'm really selling myself short if I just agree to most of what he demands. Still going to go to the marriage counseling appointment, but I think I will wait to make any other changes until we can get at least some professional input. Further update. So, the more I thought about it, the more his requests, demands, really, were sitting poorly with me. I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I tried to meet some of his demands. Not because I actually thought they were reasonable, but because I increasingly had the sense that the goalposts would just keep moving and that I was playing a losing game. So, Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a glow-up, haircut, fresh highlights, mani-pedi, and then went to the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for our table and assorted other gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night out, but I suggested we stay in so I could make us a special dinner, steakhouse style. Lobster bisque, bread basket with several types of rolls and savory muffins made from scratch, crab-stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon, au gratin potatoes, white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I wore a lavender, his favorite color on me, sheath dress, and high heels, and fully done hair and makeup. For all of that, I got a lukewarm thanks, it was tasty, and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I did all of the serving and the cleanup. Sunday, we usually go out, but he suggested that I make us brunch at home. So I made French press coffee, mimosas with fresh squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a bananas Foster topping, eggs scrambled with parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless sundress, wedge sandals, again did my hair and makeup. Again, I got a thanks, it's good, and no help with serving or cleanup. Afterwards, I asked if this is what he had in mind when he critiqued me before. He said that it was a start, but that I was acting very entitled for wanting credit for basic adulting. He then dropped a bomb that he was being so hard on me because he had realized lately I had a lot to make up for due to my being a low-value woman. I asked what on earth he meant by that, and he said that it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. What? Keep in mind, we started dating at 21. Neither of us claimed to be virgins or stated that as an expectation. Except for very religious people, neither of us is. I don't think most 21-year-old college students are virgins. I was upfront with him then that I'd had 2 previous partners. My high school boyfriend, we went our separate ways when we went to different colleges in different parts of the country, and another boyfriend I'd had my first year of college. And that's it. Both committed relationships and nothing casual. He then went on to say that because of my low value, I was going to need to be making it up to him for the rest of my life, that I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and that I was lucky that anyone at all wanted to marry me, and that he's connected with someone from work, so if I wanted to keep him, I'd better step up. I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved me, or even liked or respected me. I told him to leave, and he said he would gladly go to his girlfriend's place. I know so many people here insisted he was having an affair, and I just didn't want to see it, that his complaints were really all part of a campaign to distance himself from me. I feel so foolish for just thinking that he was going through a stressful time at work, or that he genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. Anyway, I have taken a week off from work to get my head together, have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow, cancelled the marriage counseling appointment, but got a referral to an individual therapist who can do an intake session with me later in the week. He, and the girlfriend apparently, are coming this evening to get more of his clothes and things, so I have to brace myself for that. Also, please be assured that I do not think that I'm low value in any way. I let my husband make me think less of myself on some levels for a short time, but now I truly see that it was a him problem. Obviously, we don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone that I don't recognize. I know the divorce won't be fun or easy, but I will be okay. Thank you all for helping me see that I was being played before I wasted too much more time in a marriage that was already over. In the comments, Freezer22 says, I know it's going to be rough, but I'm not going to say that I'm sorry you're dealing with this, because I'm on the other side of almost the exact same thing, and I promise you, life after getting rid of this man is going to be amazing. You are going to realize how much of your effort this leech was stealing from you, and it's going to feel like a huge weight has been lifted. The only regret you will have is that you didn't do it earlier. And OP replies, yeah, although it's been a rude shock, I'm actually glad things came to a head so quickly instead of getting dragged out. I'm glad he fessed up, in a sense anyway, before we actually started investing in marriage counseling. It has only been a couple of days since the big revelation and his departure, but I've already realized how soul-sucking the marriage had become and how much better off I am. Mine dragged it out over a whole year's partial separation, saying that he was having a mental health crisis while secretly living with his mistress and telling me he was in too fragile of a state. Lol. OP says, ugh, that's far worse. I'm so sorry. I know it would have been far worse for me if he had continued to drag it out. Excellent Ad says, holy F. I knew he was a dickhead, but to this level? Low-value woman? God, not the Andrew Tate phrasing, and him expecting everyone to be a virgin is such a weird thing. The good thing is that you got rid of that parasite, and you'll be better off without him. I'm happy you're moving forward and not letting it eat at you. And OP replies, yes, it seems like he fell down a toxic masculinity hole at some point fairly recently, retroactively punishing me for not being a virgin at the outset after a 12-year relationship, including 10 years of marriage, is just completely over the top. I even said, so this person you connected with at work is actually a virgin? Well, she was, he said, with a smirk. So, virgin or not, someone who would sleep with a married colleague is higher value than me? Unless he lied about his marital status and situation, which I wouldn't put past him. She was. So is he actively admitting infidelity now? OP says, yes, he admitted he has been having an affair for several months. He kept trying to say that it doesn't really count as cheating because I'm low value, so the standards are different. Baxter Has No Teeth says, good for you for recognizing that what he was saying has nothing to do with you and everything to do with him wanting to end your marriage. What is wrong with people that they can't just say, I want a divorce? Anyway, I'm so sorry that it ended like this. Stay strong. OP replies, yeah, I really wish he would have just said that he fell in love with someone else and wanted a divorce. Would have hurt, but I know that people can just grow in different directions, especially after marrying young. At least this way, he has successfully made me not even really hate him, he's not even worthy of such strong emotions, but feel sorry for him and be glad that we are over. Additional update, financial infidelity accusation / cheating soon-to-be ex-husband. Hi all, I wasn't going to post another update, at least not this soon, but I've gotten dozens of DMs and messages asking if I'm okay and how things are going. So this is specifically in response to those who were checking in on me. To recap my story, I first posted a couple of weeks ago that my husband accused me of financial infidelity after I spent $5,000 of my own fun money allotment on a gaming computer, desk, and chair, even though my spending was within our agreed upon rules. He subsequently admitted that he wasn't really upset about the gaming setup, but about what he perceived as a lack of professional ambition. I'm a senior software dev, and we make the same salary at the moment. Plus, he wanted me to cook more elaborate meals, put more effort into home decor, and dress up more for him. Finally, about a week later, he accused me of being low value due to not being a virgin when we met. At age 21, neither was he, and he never once previously criticized that in our 12 years together, and told me that he was having an affair with a younger coworker who had been a virgin. Gross, I know. Then he moved out, and in with her. Folks have been asking me this week how things went with him picking up his stuff, meeting with my lawyer, etc., so wanted to share those updates for anyone interested. So he was supposed to come get his stuff on Tuesday evening, a couple days ago, but told me at the last minute he couldn't because Amy, his girlfriend, wasn't feeling well. Some people called in the comments, but yes, she's pregnant apparently. He told me this on text, so I have proof of the affair in writing now. It's not just his word against mine. Anyway, I didn't want him to keep jerking me around on the schedule, for whatever reason, so I told him I'd pack his stuff up for him and arrange for movers. I think it's better that way. I really didn't want him or them in the house. I already had arranged for a friend to come over on Tuesday when he and Amy were supposed to come by, so the two of us spent the evening packing his clothes and other personal effects. The movers came yesterday and got the boxes and furniture items that he wanted. He didn't want much, just the stuff from his home office and dresser, as apparently Amy's apartment is small. I provided a detailed inventory and photos of everything, which he approved, so he can't say that I broke or otherwise ruined his stuff. After that, yesterday I went to the clinic to get STD tests. Won't have the results for a week or so, but thankfully I haven't had any symptoms. And met with my lawyer, who said that I have a good case for grounds of adultery and mental cruelty if I want or need to go that route. At a minimum, it's leverage to get him to settle quickly and quietly. I also locked down all the finances within the parameters provided by the lawyer so that he can't empty our joint funds or take anything that belongs to me, change account beneficiaries, and all that fun stuff. I changed the locks to the house too. I decided to take the advice of some of the commenters and am getting rid of the bed and other bedroom furniture that I shared with him. I'm donating it. Someone is coming this afternoon to haul it all off, and I'm going to completely redecorate the bedroom to my own taste. That will take a bit, staying in one of the guest rooms in the meantime. I'm also taking a spa weekend away, leaving tomorrow morning and back Sunday night just to get a change of scenery before I have to go back to work next week. And yes, even after buying the gaming setup, I have plenty of fun money left in my account to afford my lawyer's retainer and redoing the bedroom as well as my getaway with plenty left over. Here's to frugality when it counts. Those are the main updates for the moment. I'm doing better than expected, I think, and realizing more day by day that it really wasn't a good marriage, at least not for the last couple of years when he started expecting me to do everything around the house and all the other emotional labor of running our lives outside of work with no help and little to no gratitude. Amy sure is going to have her hands full. Edit. Once again, I cannot thank everyone here enough. I need to get ready for my spa weekend away. So apologies in advance if I have not responded to your comment or DM, but I am really grateful for all the support and encouragement. Hopefully there won't be any more notable updates for a while. I really just want a smooth and easy divorce and to get on with my life. So please keep your fingers crossed for me. In the comments, EasyTrain2030 says, she's going to have some big shoes to fill. I bet she won't be a domestic goddess, being that she has an MBA and is career-driven. Plus, she's pregnant. Babies take a lot of energy. I suspect he won't have that pristine home to come home to and a dose of reality when he's going to have to pay a rent or a mortgage. He's going to have to handle his own budget now. We'll see who is low value then. I'm glad you're doing well. Enjoy your spa weekend. And OP replies, right? I mean, if she's in the executive training program with him, I assume she also makes $200K, but even with $400K between the two of them, it's not going to stretch as far as one might think if they have to pay for a bigger apartment, or mortgage in our HCOL, daycare for an infant, or probably a nanny given the long working hours required in finance, 2 high-end professional wardrobes, etc. Not to mention saving for college. I assume they still want private schools. The list goes on. Not going to be a lot of money or time for golf for the foreseeable future. Salt Respect 339 says, A baby is such a big stressor for any relationship. Not before long, they will have to manage living together instead of just having a nice little work romance in a small apartment in addition to their demanding careers, a divorce, and a newborn keeping them up at night and needing attention over work and romance. Sounds as if he's going to be doing a lot of adulting himself very soon. OP says, also, he was hardcore child-free before. I didn't want kids either, but he was especially militant about it. I mean, maybe he changed his mind, but it doesn't seem like this was exactly a planned pregnancy. Plus, he can't even be bothered to put his own laundry in the hamper or to put a dish in the dishwasher. How is he going to deal with an infant? Anyway, not really my problem, and I guess he'll figure it out, or not. Brain124 says, take this piece of trash for everything. What a low-value guy he is. Also, please make sure you control the narrative of how everything went down, since you likely have a lot of mutual friends who will be curious as to what the hell is going on. Let them know that he is a cheating slimeball. OP replies, so far I've mostly been telling my own friends and family. I did reach out to his parents and brother with the following. Hi, you may have heard that soon-to-be ex and I are separating. I'm not sure what he's told you, but I found out a few days ago that he's been seeing a coworker for a few months and that she is now pregnant. So clearly, our marriage cannot continue. He has left our home and has moved in with her. Not asking you to take sides, of course, but I wanted to make sure you knew in case you were looking for him. Happy to talk if you like, but again, of course I understand if you choose to support him through this, especially in light of the upcoming addition to the family. Take care. I figure it's up to him to tell his friends. I'm friendly with some of his older friends, college buddies, but don't really have conversations with them without him, and his newer friends are from his workplace, so I'm sure he's already spun his own narrative there. Damn, I wish there was another update to this. I want to know how he is handling that situation at home with that woman. Unfortunately, in the last few years, we have seen those guys come out of the woodwork with the Andrew Tate narrative of, oh my god, low-value woman, yeah, it's okay to cheat on them because they bring no value to the relationship, so it doesn't count. She is required to be a virgin in order to be worthy of time and attention. If anything has entered her body, she is used. She is not worthy of being your partner or anyone's partner. I wish all men with that thought process the very best of luck in life, especially this one that has destroyed his marriage and is now going to face the harsh realities of life with this woman. Best of luck to the both of them. It doesn't sound like it's going to go well. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's story. I do hope you enjoyed. This was an extra long one for you guys because I've been away for a bit. I was on holiday, and I am now back to our usual scheduled posting. Let me know what you think of this all down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by a throwaway account, titled, Am I the Asshole, 38 male, for cutting back on work to prove a point to my wife, 30 female. My wife is usually an angel of a woman, but has recently gotten into a friendship with a woman who I personally believe is a bad influence on her. Not in a patronizing way, more of a lay down with dogs, get up with fleas type of situation. I never said anything about her childishness or her radical misandry because frankly it doesn't affect me. That was until it did. A few months ago, my wife began pressuring me to do more around the house. Before I get an instant you're the asshole, we already split chores and childcare. Admittedly, she has a bigger cut than I because she's a stay-at-home mum, but I do most of the cooking, breakfast and dinners, lunch is her responsibility for her and the boys. I take out the garbage and I do laundry, and I deep clean the bathrooms once a week. I do also help with our boys' homework and such. She insists that I'm not doing enough and that I should be doing more around the house. I tried having discussions with her asking what she expected from me. Namely, all chores and child rearing should be my duty, it seems. And for months it seemed to be going nowhere. She used the D word more than once when speaking on this, which felt manipulative. It boiled over when we were out with friends one night, and she began talking about how I never helped out and how I use her as a house slave. Her words. I will admit that I saw red. The next part is where I may be the asshole. I didn't say anything that night, but the next day I asked my boss to be given reduced hours for the next little bit due to stress. and I took over everything in the house. I cooked breakfast and made lunches for the boys before I drove them to school. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I did every dish we had twice, and so on. My wife was blindingly happy and bragged to her friend that she finally had me worn in. She didn't lift a finger for around a month. Then she began asking why we never went on dates anymore and complained that she wanted to get her nails done as they were growing in. I explained that I had to take that out of our budget so that we could continue to afford everything else, but we could absolutely have a movie night in and I could paint her nails for her. She was unhappy with that solution, so I asked her if she would want to get a part-time job to pay for either luxuries. You would have thought that I asked if she wanted to join a cult. She then asked if I could just pick up more shifts at work to cover her other expenses and use the phrase, "be a man," which I found more than a little insulting. I then asked her if she would be willing to go back to splitting the chores and such, which is when she began to catch on that the two were related. She then yelled at me that I was being a manipulative asshole for doing this, and even claimed it was financial A-word. I stood strong for a while, but I am now questioning my methods, because even I feel what I did was a bit underhanded. So am I the asshole? Honestly, OP, I think that you're getting an extremely raw deal here, and that she's taking you for a ride. I don't know why you've decided to give in and do exactly what your wife wanted in this situation, instead of just communicating with her and being like, hey, we're married, you can trust me, let's talk this through. What the hell has changed since before you got so involved with this friend? Why are you asking me to do so much, yet you don't have to do anything? The way that this is heading and your refusal to tackle the issue head-on seems very bad for the future of your marriage, and that's not exactly your fault. Part of the blame is for not communicating, but around 90% or more of the blame is on her for being an absolute piece of shit and perpetuating this and not being a decent human being. I don't know what crawled up her ass and died, but she needs to cut the shit because that is divorce-worthy territory that she's going down. Not the asshole for this one, OP. In the comments, Magoo69X says, not the asshole. Stay at home means that you do most of the housework. I'm not sure why your wife doesn't understand that. Dude, you said that your wife is an angel. I'm not really seeing it. Threatening divorce to bludgeon you into doing more housework is a pretty big red flag. Oh, so that was the D word. I was wondering. Thanks. Fables says, not the asshole. What the hell is with your wife? She expects you to work all day and do all the house chores and take care of the kids while she uses your money to pamper herself? Her priorities are so wrong on so many levels. She's lucky she ain't my wife. With that attitude and disrespect, I would have agreed to divorce and said, I'll see you in court. I am a stay-at-home mother, and I do probably 80% of the chores and childcare. I absolutely do probably 95% of the cooking. I like it, and I'm a better cook. My husband works from home, IT. Some years ago, we were replacing some outside doors on our house. The subcontractor of the contractor was a guy probably in his mid-20s, and you could tell he probably didn't make a ton of money. He worked for us for about 2.5 days. Genuinely good guy. I would chat with him while he worked or check on him if he needed anything, water, etc. He told me that his wife was a stay-at-home mother too, and he worked 12 to 14 hours a day and 6 days a week. He also told me that his wife didn't do much cooking. Well, she did cook, just not for him. She cooked for herself and the kids. He usually went home and ate a can of beef stew or chili. Sometimes he didn't even warm that up because he was so tired. I was horrified. I asked him what he bought for lunch, and he said he didn't bring anything and that he was okay. I was even more horrified. I make a nice hot lunch for myself and husband every day, so I decided to make some for him too. He tried to deny it, but I said that I would just throw it away if he didn't eat it. Dude inhaled the food. He thanked me with tears in his eyes. I made sure he had a hot home-cooked lunch every day. Unfortunately, there are some out there that don't understand that marriage is about partnership and working together. I like to say that my husband brings home the bacon and I cook it. My husband is an awesome provider to take care of our family, so I do my best to take care of him and my kids. OP is not the asshole, and honestly, he needs to give his wife an ultimatum of couples therapy, or their marriage is going to crash and burn if it hasn't already. Really, OP's wife is acting as dead weight and will sink their marriage. Update. How do I, 38 male, explain to/help my sons to understand their mother is going to rehab? I have never been in a situation like this. I'm a former addict myself, but I didn't have children then. See my last post for more clarification, but the gist of it is that my wife and I recently had a blowout argument where she admitted to using 2 substances for several months and has agreed to get checked into rehab, which we are currently setting up now. How the hell do I bring this up to them without them being judgmental or hateful to their mother, or worse, falling into the same mental space I'm in? I don't want to lie to them, which is what my wife wants, but I'm failing to see an alternative that won't destroy them or the respect that they have for their mother. I'm swimming blind here, and I barely slept since this all came out. Any and all advice is appreciated. Thank you in advance. In the comments, Euphoric Basil 3658 says, I'm not going to lie. My first thought when I read your other post was, that's a drug-filled delusion if I've ever heard one. Radical shifts in perspective and behavior are big red flags to me because, spoiler, I was the addict. I have no kids, but the best way that it's ever been explained to younger kids in my family, as we have a history of it, lucky us, is that when an adult makes a bunch of bad choices that can develop into a bad habit, they go to a better place for a little bit to help them learn how to make better choices. Vague but sufficient. In your case, with your 14-year-old, I would be completely honest. That's the age that I started messing around with substances, and most kids that age have at least heard of them. You're a good husband and a good dad. I'm glad you were willing to stick by her, and I'm glad you listened when she expressed what was going on instead of judging. But please don't lose yourself in her battle. Remember that your feelings around the situation are valid and important too. OP replies, I'm trying not to be angry with her because I know it's both irrational and hypocritical of me to be angry because I know firsthand addiction is a disease. I suppose I'm more angry at myself for not thinking of it. It had never crossed my mind that she would be doing drugs. She barely ever even drank in the 5 years I've known her, but it feels like I should have seen the signs and I didn't. It's incredibly heartbreaking that I was so caught up in the fairness of her requests that I didn't see what was staring at me in the face. I have been torn between sobbing in my car to absolutely tearing up the treadmill at my local gym because I can't tell her what I'm feeling right now, because I know that it will do nothing but cause a fight. She's going into rehab tonight, and I am honestly so sad to say that I will be relieved to not have to look at her for a while. I still love her dearly, but I'm having trouble not starting fights myself, which I know isn't helpful, or going to do anything but make things worse. It's just hell. Update 2, titled, I yelled at my wife. See my profile for details, but I was driving my wife to the rehabilitation center we decided on. On the way, she was screaming at me about how she can't believe I'm humiliating her like this, explaining what was happening to the boys, and making her message her dealer/friend that they would not be hanging out or using together anymore. About how she doesn't want to go, and that I'm a controlling monster, and how threatening her with divorce or taking primary custody of the boys was too far, and I was insane, and I just took it, and took it, and took it, and took it, until I just couldn't. And I screamed at her. I screamed that the woman that I met would have rather died than had a pillhead junkie around her sons, and how she disgusted me, and that I don't know if she knew how much I was considering leaving her, not because of the addiction, but the way she was effing acting. Like she hadn't brought drugs into our home, around me, a former addict myself, and around our boys. That I was beginning to hate her for doing that. That she was becoming exactly what she always cried about her mother being, and that she was lucky I was here to see it before what happened to her goddamn sons. It makes me sick to say, but watching it sink in just how far she had spiraled felt good. Watching her realize that her actions have consequences was nice. She yelled a few more times that I was an abusive asshole or whatever, but she was still crying, so I felt her heart wasn't in it. I plan on speaking to a lawyer. I don't want to divorce her, but I don't know how healthy our relationship could possibly be after this. I know yelling like that was wrong, but I don't feel bad. And that's the part that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't be married to her anymore, for her sake and my own. I don't know what else to do, and I'm so pissed that she detonated C4 in every bit of our life. In the comments, Due Priority says, sad to say that you might need to separate. If she's fighting you still on the way to rehab, then I don't see how rehab is going to change her perspective. And you know how long and hard drug addiction can be, and it sounds like she did too, but she still put herself and the rest of your family in that situation. I don't think trust can really be rebuilt after this. OP replies, I believe I'm going to have to divorce her, and it's wrecking me. I don't want to. I still love her, but I don't know if I trust myself around her, and also not to use myself. I have been closer to relapsing this week than I ever have been before. Curly Brit says, have hope that rehab will help. Many people are at their absolute worst on the way to rehab. Hopefully that's the case for her, and she will have massive apologies when she's done. If not, I would absolutely leave. The fact that you do so much and feel bad about yelling shows how great of a husband you are, and you deserve an equal partner. I hope the woman you married walks out of rehab rather than the woman that she's become. Our next update is titled, She Was Cheating. Before you read, please know this is a vent post. I normally would never be like this, but I'm beyond okay, and need to get this poison out of my head before I go anywhere else with it. She was effing cheating. The drug-dealing friend sent me effing videos of her dancing and grinding on this ugly hick-looking bastard. I am goddamn destroyed. The boys are staying with my mother for a few days, and I'm taking the next week off work. I am so done. I have never been so angry in my goddamned life. She was so goddamn smug sending it. In case you don't realize, you're replaceable to her. Well, the free ride stops here. I hope she can get on Medicaid for her Suboxone, LMFAO. I'm done. I saved the video immediately, and I'm going to see a lawyer ASAP. I can't tell anyone yet because I want to do this shit right. Thankful as F, my parents insisted on a prenup with what I at the time thought was an inhumane cheating clause. Never been cheated on before, and I feel like tearing my goddamned hair out. I genuinely never thought she would turn out to be such a scummy piece of shit. I cannot handle this. I am not physically able to handle this. I haven't been able to keep food down, and I drank for the first time in over a decade last night. Then I woke up and had to pour the rest down the drain because I am about to spiral, and my boys don't need both mum and dad in rehab right now. I am so close to losing my goddamned mind. Also, believe what you want, but stop sending me private messages about how I should take down the posts or that posting about my personal relationship with my wife is wrong. Please. Leave me be. It will not work. This is the only place I can talk about this shit. In the comments, Agitated Ad says, I am so sorry you're going through this right now. Cheating is the worst pain you can feel in a relationship, especially with everything you did for her to make her happy. But I believe, in my opinion, though I know you didn't ask for it, so I apologize if I'm crossing a line or being insensitive, you were doing the right thing by divorcing her. Based on her previous posts, the relationship and household sounded very toxic. My father is an addict, and growing up, the way he would treat my mum like a workhorse and the things he would say about women has really messed me up. I was lucky to have a positive role model in my mother when she finally divorced him, and I know that your sons have a positive role model in you. I hope for your sons that their mother is able to get them the help that she needs so she can be a healthy and positive parent for your sons. Again, I am very sorry that you are going through this, and it is very difficult. I just know that you are going to do whatever is best for your sons, and you will be able to get through this. Sending much love your way. Anthony Stephen Mark says, the worst part is the only person who never saw this coming was you and your soon-to-be ex. Remember, because frankly it doesn't affect me. This is why, as a couple, you need to have a veto on who is part of your life, and that includes each other's friends. These actions are almost satanic. This was the final piece of dismantling your life. This is how demons work through people around us, but ultimately, it's we who choose to walk through those doors. Edit, so does your wife know that you have been sent the video? I think it's time you do some more investigating. Final update, titled, My soon-to-be ex-wife is in the hospital after a suicide attempt, and I feel like a monster. I've been working on filing for divorce while she's in rehab, not just for the cheating, but because with that on top of everything else, and myself nearly sinking back into my own addiction due to the stress of the situation, I couldn't stand to even think of her anymore. and there is no healthy relationship that has room for that mindset. I honestly didn't want to be in a room with her again to try mediation or counseling due to the fact that the last time I was alone with her, I raised my voice, and at the time even felt that she deserved it. I of course now know that me doing that was terrible and could be considered abuse. Yet another reason that I should not be in a relationship with this woman. I moved all of her belongings to our guest room, minus the pills that I found hidden in her bedside table. I took pictures of those in their hiding spot, then flushed them. I also removed her from my bank account and credit cards. I spoke to my boys, explaining the situation without demonizing their mother to the best of my ability, and they seemed to understand that I have no intention of abandoning them, and blood or not, they were my sons. Then she came home. The boys were, and still are, away at camp. A birthday present paid for by my mother. Eyes on the ground after the moment I picked her up at the facility all the way home. Once we got home, I led her to the guest room silently, and she didn't take it well, crying before she could even take the first step. Throughout the next couple weeks, I let her get settled, and though I stayed carefully neutral, I know she could tell something was coming, but I wanted to be as fair as possible and try to let her get used to being out before I said anything, as that was one thing I myself hated about when I left rehab. Everything was flying at me so fast, I didn't have time to breathe. Finally, I asked her to sit on the couch, and I began explaining to her that I do not believe I can continue being married to her and that I wanted divorce. I should have known her reaction was all wrong. She didn't say anything at all. She only nodded and cried quietly as I spoke. I explained that I did not intend to hurt her, but I could not be married to her anymore, and that maybe both of us should focus on being the best parents we can be. I told her I had no intention of kicking her out, and that because of our prenup, the divorce should be cut and dry, and she should be safe to begin looking for employment now, and once she has a job, I will help her find an apartment. At this, she stood up and walked to her room. I let her because I thought she must have been overwhelmed and this talk could wait. She didn't come out at dinner time, and I weighed whether I should leave her alone or not. Eventually, I decided to knock on the door and ask if she was hungry. Long story short, she had smuggled pills into my house somehow, or she had a stash that I was unaware of, and had an overdose, and was dead for several minutes in the ambulance, and she's in a medically induced coma because the doctors aren't sure exactly how much damage she's done to her brain, from what they've said. I feel like an absolute monster, like I am the scum of the earth, like I should have just said nothing, like I should have just dealt with it, held it in, and stayed. I am responsible for this, and it kills me. I may not have the same love for her as I did, but I do feel so very sorry for everything that she's been through. It's killing me. I haven't told my sons yet, and I'm debating waiting until they're back from camp so they can have a little more time without this on their minds on top of everything else. I'm sorry for the grammar and such. I don't have the energy to edit this, but wanted to get this off my chest. In the comments, someone asks OP where's her family, and OP replies, "Not my story to tell, but she doesn't have much family alive, and the ones who are, she's no contact with. She has other friends, but I don't know which ones were enabling. They all know what's going on. I messaged all her friends except the dealer, though she knows now I know from messages she sent me. She hasn't shown up to the hospital though, possibly because she thinks I would throw her out, which I would be tempted to do, to be entirely honest. A couple of her other friends visit all the time. Yes, she's no contact with her mother, ironically because of her mother's addiction and bad treatment of her. The rest constantly insisted that she should see her mother, and 2 times even took her boys to her mother's house without her permission. One more clarification on the kids. Yes, because all of our children are from previous relationships. I have adopted the 2 eldest, who aren't mine biologically. Someone asks OP why he did it at that point, and OP replies, "I wanted to do it while she's in rehab, but my therapist told me to reconsider, so I did. I was so angry when I found out about the cheating, I wanted to take her belongings to her dealer's house and leave them there, but I knew that was wrong. I knew that once my anger wore off, I would regret it. So now all I want is to get the divorce started and over with as soon as possible so that I can begin trying to pick up the pieces and move on with my life. On top of that, I didn't want to lead her on, and I could tell that she knew something was coming because I can't stand her even touching me anymore. It makes me physically ill. If I had known that she was going to attempt that, I could have closed my eyes and grit my teeth and let her do whatever. But honestly, even now, after what she did, I know that isn't feasible for me. I still found myself wanting to start fights, to yell, and I know that I am not strong enough a person to be in a relationship with someone who hurt me that much, who disrespected me, my home, and my children that much, who took my own past experiences with drugs into account so little that she brought them into my home, directly under the nose of myself and my children, pun intended. This is as much kindness as I can afford to extend to her anymore for my own mental health's sake. Not awake yet. I took the advice of some of the commenters and went to go get my boys to see if they wanted to see their mother. I explained the situation to the best of my ability, age appropriate, and asked if they wanted to see her. They all agreed to see her eventually, but the eldest only wanted to go to support his brothers. I'm concerned about the anger he is building towards his mother, and I do intend to talk to him about it, but I also don't want to tell him how to feel, or to tell him that his feelings are bad and wrong. I was already working to get them into therapy, but I'm going to expedite that. Edited to add a bit more info from the comments. 2 of my 3 sons are stepsons, but I adopted them. They never had a father due to their bio dad being an absolute piece of shit. My biological son is the youngest and was born to a girlfriend who was not in the picture and doesn't want to be. My sons are 9, 12, and 14. She had 2 jobs when I met her, though they were both shit jobs, and I'd been looking into finding her a better one. When it comes to the dealer, she was getting the drugs from her friend who was a woman, and a few from the men who she cheated with. There have been multiple pictures and videos of her dancing on, being inappropriate with men since that post. I haven't blocked that friend because she sent me a large amount of proof of infidelity for the divorce. And in that post, the hick she was dancing on was a man. Perhaps you're confused because her woman friend sent the video? Maybe my wording was bad. I apologize. And yes, I do know that trauma is the gateway to addiction, as I'm an addict, and my own CSA from my uncle and general abuse from both my parents. We went to counseling during my rehab, and our relationship is much better now, but growing up was very bad. I can't say I know what made her start using, but I can say I know she had a rough childhood and even worse teenage years. Editing to add, regardless of sexual identity, if I found out my wife was engaging in sexual acts with women, I would also consider it cheating. She was doing other sexually inappropriate things, but no, I didn't get any straight-up sex tapes. I would rather not go into it further, but I think you can get my drift. Inspiratory Loretto says, I understand the mixed feelings. It's so hard to see someone you love fall into the cycle of addiction, cheating, and self-harm. But he's doing the right thing, both for himself and the boys. That's the only thing that matters in this situation, that he is taking care of himself and thinking about the children. Dash and Mum 5 says, if she's not been conscious for 5 days and was dead for several minutes, I wonder what odds they're giving that she will wake up at this point. A friend of mine died of an accidental overdose. Her brother was a doctor and was the one who found her. He tried CPR, but by the time the paramedics got there, she had been down over 8 minutes. He told them not to continue because even if they got her heart beating, her brain was dead. The ER physician officially declared her and agreed with her brother. He did CPR 8 minutes, and that was from when he found her. He had no way to know how long she was down before then. To be honest, my guess is they're maintaining her alive, not as much in the hope that she'll wake up, more than a charity for her close ones to come to grips with the situation and to say their goodbyes. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're having a fantastic day, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chug a prawn of the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user, Dress of My Dreams, titled, Am I the asshole for kicking my sister-in-law out of my bridal party for posting a pic of me in my wedding dress? I, 27 female, got engaged to my fiancé, 34 male, right before COVID, and due to the pandemic have experienced delay after delay. But finally, we've begun planning and are aiming at a mid-May 24 wedding. My mother asked me if I could include my sister-in-law in my bridal party because after marrying my brother, moved several states away, and has expressed feeling isolated without family around. I could understand, so I agreed. But my sister-in-law has been nothing short of a nightmare. My bridesmaids all assisted in handwriting and sending out our wedding invitations, but the ones my sister-in-law helped with all had zero invitation inside, and instead was an empty envelope. I know they were hers, because everyone had different shades of pink envelopes to go from. She also took the longest at our makeup and hair consultations, even extending her appointment an hour, to which I was charged. I am covering her expenses, as she is a stay-at-home mother, and I know things are tight right now, because she could not agree with the stylist on what makeup she wanted. But the final straw came when I found the dress of my dreams. The only problem was I was 15 pounds too heavy for it, and I bawled my eyes out because I knew this was the dress for me. Everyone was encouraging, and I still had plenty of time to lose 15 pounds and come back for fitting, etc., so I agreed and said yes to the dress. When I got home that night, I noticed on my sister-in-law's Instagram that she has posted a picture to her Instagram of me in the dress, ugly crying, and I was absolutely livid. My fiancé has already seen the Instagram picture, and I'm devastated. He was not supposed to see me in the dress until our wedding day, and I know so many more people have seen it. I could not help myself. I called her and exploded, adding that she was not going to be in my bridal party and that she has ruined my wedding. My mother has called me, and she's told me that even though she understands, I lacked compassion and have severely hurt my sister-in-law's feelings. She asked if I could find it in my heart to forgive, but I told her even if I did that, I still would not include her in my party. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I removed my sister-in-law from my bridal party because she posted an intimate and special photo that should never have been taken. It's possible that in being slower to anger, I could have let it go or moved on, but I removed her from my party, and I think that it was a fair decision. Honestly, just for that alone, you were more than justified to remove her from the bridal party, potentially even just uninviting her from the wedding as well, because what is she thinking? Not to mention the sabotaging of the wedding invitations for no good reason, costing you an extra hour in hair and makeup, which is goddamn expensive, because she couldn't agree with the makeup that she wanted. She's just been such a pain in your side this entire time, and I can only imagine that's the reason why you didn't include her in the first place, because you probably knew she was going to be like this. You gave her a chance. From the get-go, she destroyed your goodwill. What in God's name was she thinking, posting a picture of you ugly crying in a wedding dress to Instagram? Why? What was she hoping to achieve here, other than pissing you off and getting kicked out of the wedding? If your mother understands, then why is she siding with this fucking idiotic woman and saying that you hurt her feelings? What about your feelings? Do your feelings not count? Why should you find it in your heart to forgive her? What has she done to deserve forgiveness? I would tell her to pack her shit up and go home and leave me alone. You've already done too much. Not the asshole. In the comments, Pavatar says, not the asshole. I suspect your sister-in-law is jealous and wants to subtly sabotage your wedding. At least the envelopes and the hair consultation were passive-aggressive. But posting the photo of you crying while wearing your chosen wedding dress is beyond subtle. This was a real asshole stunt. The fact that she hasn't apologized tells me she definitely wants to mess up your wedding. Good for you for booting her out of the bridal party. You might want to ask one of the bridesmaids to keep an eye on sister-in-law at the wedding and be prepared with a glass of red wine. I wouldn't put it past sister-in-law to wear a lacy white dress. Have a wonderful wedding. I'm dying to know what excuse she had for posting a photo of the bride in her dress, crying, on social media. Bounced from the party was kind. I'd have been tempted to bounce her from the wedding. Not the asshole at all. Equally excited to hear why your mother is defending your sister-in-law. Like, why does the sister-in-law hate OP so much? This is clearly deliberate at this point. There is no way in hell it's a coincidence. Leaving out the invites and all the envelopes? No, that alone doesn't make any damn sense. But then posting a photo of her in the dress while it doesn't fit her as she's ugly crying. OP, cut ties with the sister-in-law and do not let her attend your wedding. She will find a way to ruin the event if she can. Also, consider disinviting your mother if she keeps taking sister-in-law's side. Something is very wrong here, and I'm not sure I trust your mother at this point. Wow. So sister-in-law posted a humiliating picture of you on Instagram in the wedding dress she knew that you chose, and you're the one who lacks compassion? Sorry, it's more like sister-in-law and your mother are both devoid of compassion for you. You are not the asshole, but they or anyone else who thinks what sister-in-law did was okay are. And OP replies, I can tell from my best friend being the picture holding my hand that this picture was taken at my most vulnerable moment, and that was right after I was told there was no way at the weight I was I could fit into the dress and that it was their only size left. I do not exaggerate when I say the picture is me looking an emotional and hot mess. I have dug deep for a way to forgive this, but I just can't. It feels intentional, and because we have not spoken since, I never received an apology, not even when we spoke initially on the phone. OP, this means that she saw you upset, and her reaction was, better capture a picture of this, rather than to comfort you in any way. As if that wasn't bad enough, she then saw the picture and with full understanding of the situation, thought that she should post it. There is no way to manipulate that into sounding like the actions of someone with any kindness or empathy. That is concerning, and not someone that you can trust. There is no reason to 1. Have someone like that in, or one might even argue at, your wedding, or 2. Offer an apology. It sounds like your mum might be more concerned about maintaining her relationship with her baby boy who moved away than what's best for you. Or really, her son. Who would truly want their son married to such an asshole? You are not the asshole. There is something not right with your sister-in-law, mental health issues, or just a massive jerk, and anyone who supports her, including your mum. It's probably best to talk to your mum and ask her specifically what she would be apologizing for and articulate why she feels sister-in-law deserves an apology and you do not. Hopefully, when your mother has to say out loud whatever moral gymnastics she's using to justify this internally, she'll realize how wrong she is. I'm sorry this is happening. She sucks. First update. My brother reached out to me to apologize on my sister's behalf. He stated that she posted it thinking the app had the feature where she could post privately. I have never seen this on Instagram or knew that it was possible, but when I asked why the picture was taken in the first place, he said she just wanted to capture the start of my fitting into the dress journey. I told my brother that she was not getting back into my bridal party, which he understood, but when I mentioned that she could not attend my wedding, he stated that if that were the case, he would not come either. Update 2. My brother and sister-in-law did not have a wedding. At the time, they were in their 3rd year of college and only married at the courthouse over a summer break. I admit that I do not have a very close relationship with her. I work longer hours and often am tired after, so go straight home to relax, especially these last few years. Anytime we've been together, we are cordial, but there is no real relationship between us. Update 3. Thank you everyone for the positivity and for reaffirming that I was not overreacting on no longer having my sister-in-law in my bridal party. For further update, my brother called me and wanted to have lunch with my mother and sister-in-law. My fiancé demanded to go too, so we drove to have lunch with them. It was awkward at first because no one was speaking, but then my brother spoke up, reiterating to me that my sister-in-law was sorry for posting the picture to Instagram and was hoping that we could all move on from this. When my fiancé heard this, he asked why my sister-in-law was not apologizing to me directly. It became very tense, and my brother and fiancé started exchanging pointed words. He referenced my sister-in-law feeling very distraught since a few of my bridesmaids had seen the photo and personally attacked her on Instagram. And even my mum got involved to try and break the rising tension. My fiancé pointed out that my sister-in-law had yet to directly apologize to me, and that if she didn't, he did not want her at the wedding at all, and he didn't care if my brother was absent or not. When my mum said that we are family and shouldn't act this way toward each other, my fiancé once again insisted that she give me a face-to-face apology. My sister-in-law was very standoffish toward him, but eventually she apologized to me for what happened. She only said, "I'm sorry for what happened." I felt this was enough, but my fiancé demanded she clarified what happened, take responsibility for it, and apologize the same way my brother did, to which it became an argument over whether or not the apology was good enough. I felt the conversation went nowhere and became redundant and petty, and we ended lunch with what felt like no resolution. I talked to my fiancé in the car and said that I was okay with her apology, but he disagrees. He said for the sake of peace, I was willing to accept less than I deserve. I really thought that planning a wedding was going to be stressful but happy, if that makes sense, but this whole ordeal has completely exhausted me and turned me off any further planning. Last update, added nearly 3 days after the original post. My sister-in-law finally said that she absolutely hates me, and it all stems from me ceasing to further loan my brother money after he borrowed $42K from me over a 2.5-year time frame, with no payment to me whatsoever. For context, I am in tech and my fiancé is in solar, so we live fairly comfortably. My sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mother, and my brother works at a warehouse. His job alone was sometimes not enough to cover expenses, and he would often come to me to borrow money, which I didn't mind. But when COVID hit, it became a regular occurrence for me and my mum to be loaning out money to him. I don't know how much my mother loaned him. Well, after my brother got a steady job with a steady income, I decided to no longer provide him any additional money until he paid down some of his debt to me. My sister-in-law described my decision as a slap in the face to my brother, and one that made them feel like beggars rather than family. I cannot believe that this is the reason that she does not like me. When I told my brother I could no longer loan him money, he never expressed an anger at my decision. It just felt like he understood. What solidified my decision to not include her in my wedding at all was when she said that she could see where the money was going and referenced my weight. I told her that she has no respect for me and feels entitled when she has no right to be. I told her that I hoped it didn't affect my relationship with my niece and nephew, but that I did not want to be around her if all she does is spew hatred toward me. I wished she had been honest before I asked her to be my bridesmaid, rather than deciding to put me through hell. I have been trying to call my brother and tell him what she said, but he is not picking up, and neither is my mum. In the comments, OldKing7199 says, "I've got to admit, that's a good partner/future husband OP has. He said, for the sake of peace, I was willing to accept less than I deserve. Good thing her fiancé sees what's really going on, that her family is just using her and not giving her the respect she actually deserves. If the OP's mother doesn't come around, then OP should consider dropping contact with them. Definitely dropping contact with the sister-in-law and with the brother." Honestly, I completely agree with that sentiment. I feel like the fiancé really hit the nail on the head with this one. And if I were in his shoes, I'd absolutely be drilling into the sister-in-law for an actual apology, not just, "I'm sorry for what happened." Like, no, admit what you did was wrong. Admit what you did, and admit why it was wrong, and tell me why you did it. I want all of the facts. You are not escaping these charges. And also, $42,000? Jesus! Why didn't it stop after a few thousand? How did you give him $42,000 over 2.5 years? If your decision made them feel like beggars rather than family, maybe it's because they were being beggars and not family. I don't see where you would feel like you're being family in this instance if you're siphoning $42,000 off of family. What is so familial about that? And then just to top it off with all of the references to your weight and just continual disrespect to you. I'm sorry, OP, that your family won't talk to you right now, but I do feel like it's for the best that you keep distance from all of them. They sound like an absolute swamp of a family. Anyway, guys, that seems to be where the story ends for now. Obviously, if there are further updates, I will read them. But I'd love to know what your thoughts on this are in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Juanita Rodriguez, titled, "Am I the asshole for throwing my sister and her son out of my house? I, 35 male, am a single father of 3 boys, 10 male, 7 male, and 3 male. Their mother died last year due to ovarian cancer. It has been a rough year to say the least. My sister got divorced 6 months ago and temporarily moved in with me and the boys. She has a son, my nephew, 9 male, who stays with us most of the time. My nephew and my 10-year-old are not the best of friends, but so far they got along fine, apart from some teasing from both sides. A few weeks ago, my 10-year-old started telling me that his cousin was bullying him and being mean to him. He called him names, pushed him around, took his video games, etc. I talked to my sister many times and told her to talk to her son. We talked to the boys together, and things settled down. Yesterday was my 3-year-old's birthday, so my whole family was here, and my late wife's family as well. It was extremely emotional for everyone, because it was the first birthday since my wife's been gone. The boys, 10-year-old and 9-year-old, started fighting again, and I asked them both to calm down and behave. My son started crying and told me his cousin teased him about not having a mom. I choked up and asked my nephew if that was true, and he said yes, but that he's sorry. I figured I'd have a proper talk with him and my sister after the party, so I just told him what he said was really awful and he cannot say it again. I comforted my son and we went back to the party. Before we cut the cake, my sister came yelling at me, saying I had no business disciplining her child. I told her to drop it and we'll talk later. Instead, she said, "Besides, he's right. Kids need a mum." I had tears in my eyes by that time, and she just said, "See? It's even turning you into a pussy." My in-laws were crying, I was tearing up, the kids were upset. Just awful. I told her to stop it and just leave me and the kids and the family to cut the cake, and we'll talk in the evening. She said, "Listen, we both lost our spouses, but at least I'm still a normal person." And she stormed off. After the party, I told her she has 2 days to pack her shit and leave. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the asshole because I know she has nowhere to go. I was the only one to take her in. OP, all you're describing is people just beating the shit out of you. And then you being way more resilient than I feel like most of the population on this planet would be given the circumstances. You set yourself on fire so hard in this situation that I don't think I could ever do what you've done here, and I very much applaud you for doing so, keeping your cool under insane pressure. I'll be real, that woman is a monster, and she deserves more than just being kicked out of that house. From how you're describing that situation, you are not the type of person to do that, and I think you're an absolute angel for not doing what I think we all want to do. You don't just go into someone's house who has taken you in like that and then start attacking them and abusing them and saying that they're the weird ones. If you were to kick her out, and I strongly suggest you do, I wouldn't judge you as an asshole for that. I think she more than deserves it. So not the asshole. In the comments, Zay Mecca says, "I've read some of your comments about your wife. The one that got me the most is about how you were saying that you were the last link between your children and wife. Your plans to tell them everything you remember about her and how amazing she was. I can't stop crying. I am so very sorry for your loss. I'm so very sorry for your boys. I'm a complete internet stranger, but even I feel the love you had for her." OP replies, "Thank you so much. She was an absolutely spectacular person, and I have been the luckiest man in the world to just get to spend all this time with her. I've been with her for half my life, and she gave me my beautiful boys. I love her to death. My heart breaks for my boys because I know that her absence is shaping and impacting them in ways I can't predict or change. But watching them grow up and becoming good, kind, compassionate people, just as she was, keeps me going." Righteous Vengeance says, "Not the asshole to the 10th power. I would love to know how your sister thinks a normal person is supposed to react when their beloved spouse dies. Especially during their child's birthday, when the spouse has only been dead since last year, following a long illness. Trust me, you're reacting quite normally. Your sister, on the other hand, is displaying incredible ingratitude and callousness. I'm not a therapist, but this sounds like malignant narcissism. If that's normal, then you need to kick the normalcy out of your life. I wouldn't speak to her again for any reason. And the real kicker is that even when she's facing homelessness, she still refuses to even question her own actions. She's not apologizing, she's appealing to your sense of pity. After the way that she insulted you, I would not even consider allowing her to stay. If CPS is looking for relatives to take your nephew and there is no one else, you might consider letting him stay since he apologized. But any visits with his mother should be done with an intermediary and off your property. Although given the fact that he steals from your child, that might not be advisable. Glad to know that you're calling his dad and letting him deal with him. I hope you and his dad are on good terms at least." And OP replies, "My nephew still has a dad who is part of the custody. He has weekends and every 4th week or something. He can live with his father." No RXN says, "I would even say contact the father and let him know what vile shit your sister says in front of your nephew. Honestly, it doesn't sound like your sister is fit to even parent a child with the toxic shit that she spews. Not the asshole, and I don't think I would ever talk to someone who said that shit to me, family or not." OP says, "I will contact his dad. Thank you. And let him know that she has to leave your place. The kid won't be homeless. He can stay with his dad. Where your sister goes isn't your problem either. She was vile. Frankly, she's lucky you gave her 2 days. I would have kicked her out then and there and told her she would be able to find her stuff in boxes at the end of the drive in the morning. You are so not the asshole. Update. My mum agreed to take my sister in temporarily, and my nephew is still going to his dad's because now his dad is saying that there is no way he is letting my sister ruin their kid. I want to thank you all for your kind words and for all the love and support. Also, to everyone who shared about losing a loved one, I am so sorry for your loss. My nephew is supposed to leave tomorrow morning. My mum is picking my sister up right around that time, and my in-laws are bringing my boys back in the evening. We'll have a little post-birthday thing for my little one when they come back. Just me, the boys, and my in-laws. Just some ice cream. He said he prefers it over cake, and a few cartoons. One day at a time. In the comments, Taylor Moose says, quote, "We both lost our spouses, as if your partner dying is the same as getting divorced. Don't get me wrong, I'm well aware there is pain and heartbreak associated with both, but they are not similar pains. Furthermore, it's 2023. Have we not realized that keeping emotions bottled up is unhealthy? Why is it bad that OP is showing emotions and being a healthy role model for his kids?" I love how the sister's ex was like, child, you're coming with me. This woman is nutters. Years ago, my husband abruptly dumped me, and a few days later, my co-worker's wife died. He and I were commiserating over the loss of our spouses, and I'd said something about how he had it worse, and he said one of the most profound things anyone has ever said to me. "No, you have it worse, because at least my wife died loving me. Your husband is out there happier without you." And you know what? I had been a mess, but that harsh reality check started my journey towards getting back on my feet. I remember that movie. P.S. I Love You had a scene where Kathy Bates, a divorced mum, tells her widowed daughter something like, "Oh yes, and it's so much easier to be left by choice." It always stung because you could feel her pain. I think that's the thing about pain that people forget, that we shouldn't be comparing each other's suffering. The suffering alone is painful enough. On that note, then you have this sister. She sees nothing but her own pain, and it's turned her into a bitter monster. It's up to her, and maybe their parents, to save her. I'm glad OP reacted quickly, and far more better than I would. But he's living and thinking of his boys and himself. He's amazing, and I hope he's doing better. And that's where I'm going to end today's story, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're having a fantastic day. With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chug a prawn of the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Throwaway Advice 236, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that being depressed is not an excuse for being lazy?" I, 29, have always supported my girlfriend, 23. We've been together for 4 years now and lived together for 1. She's always had anxiety, as well as depression, where some months are worse than others. I have supported her through all of this and understand that it is very hard for her. In January, she lost her job due to the current world circumstances, and by March, she hit a low point with not eating as much, crying, irritability, typical traits of depression. I've comforted her as much as possible and taken care of everything. However, at the beginning of June, I was allowed back to work, and since, the house has fallen to shambles. I am too tired by the time I come home to do anything, even cook. Most nights we order takeout, and on the rare occasion, she makes food. The floors aren't being washed, hoovering isn't being done, laundry is a mountain, and dishes are everywhere. I try to keep on top of it, but with work, it is almost impossible. She is home all day. She lies in bed till late afternoon, watches Netflix, eats bowls of cereal, and naps. And that's about it. I've tried to gently coax her to do more, and she says she will get to it, but never does. I finally snapped, told her I was sick of her doing nothing all day and leaving the housework to me, that if she is here and I am working, she needs to be pulling her weight. She got upset and said that she wants to, but she can never find the motivation, that she is tired all the time. I said I understood that she was depressed, but it isn't an excuse to do nothing and be lazy. No one likes housework, but I won't take any more excuses about it. She needs to start doing it or leave. The next day, I come home to a clean house and a note from her saying she was sorry and is going to stay with her mother. Her mum helped her clean before they left. I tried calling, but she wouldn't pick up. When I rang the house, her mother answered and had a lot to say. She was furious, telling me about how she is struggling and I am making her worse, that I should be supporting her, not ignoring that she is in a bad place, and so on. I was told my girlfriend had been crying all day in her bedroom, and I feel awful. I never wanted to hurt her, I just snapped. I tried to get her mother to give my girlfriend the phone, but she wouldn't speak to me. It feels like a lose-lose situation. On one hand, I know depression results in lack of motivation and cleanliness, and on the other hand, I can't stand to see our home in such chaos. I've never had depression, so I can't say for sure how bad it truly is. That's why I find it more difficult to 100% empathize. Am I the asshole for telling her that depression isn't an excuse? For some extra info, she has a therapist and talks regularly with them. Her depression is worse since losing her job. Usually she's quite clean and tidy. We don't usually have this issue. She is looking for a job despite depression, etc. I have enough money to support us both in the meantime. Honestly, depending on how you look at this situation, I think this can swing wildly from everyone sucks here to no one is an asshole in this situation. I think personally that no one's an asshole in this situation. I think you both want different things. I think you are both dealing with different situations and you're not compatible as it stands. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's no one's fault in particular. I think that it's probably best that you guys just move on before one of you does become an asshole in this situation. In the comments, Giggly Monster says, "No assholes here. I feel for both you and her. It's not easy dealing with someone who has depression, just as it's not easy for the person to be dealing with the depression. It's not fair on you to bear that emotionally, and it's not fair for her to have someone pushing her. I think you both need to reevaluate and probably take a break or just break up. She doesn't seem okay to be in a relationship right now with what she's dealing with." To be honest, I'm surprised OP didn't pitch doing housework as a means to combat depression. Just doing a couple tasks a day can stave off feeling down. For example, clean the kitchen on Monday, get groceries on Tuesday, etc. That would have been an approach to a solution that would have met both sides' needs. So I can only speak from my own personal experience with having depression disorder since elementary school. I fully recognize not everyone is the same with this disorder. Your idea is entirely valid, and on the surface makes sense, but I get an all or nothing mentality. Either I clean everything now, or nothing gets done. I know that it makes no sense. There is no reason why I can't pick up my laundry today, do dishes tomorrow, etc. But in my brain, if I pick up my clothes from my bedroom floor, well, now I need to straighten up my shelves, and now I need to dust, and now I need to clean the closet and reorganize the drawers, and re-alphabetize my bookshelf, and wash the windows, etc., etc. But I don't have the energy to do all of that. My body physically hurts, I'm so tired and so sad, so I can't do any of it. Depression is a gluttonous beast. When it drains the primary victim to a barely functioning husk of a person, it gets hungry and starts to feed off the energy of those close to the victim. To keep this supply going, it manipulates the victim into, as you said, lose-lose-lose situations, so it can stuff itself on the sadness and distress. I have it, I hate it, I live with it. But it's the hungriest hungry hippo for psychic distress, and it manipulated the perfect situation to not only dig its primary victim deeper, but to chip away at the support system until the main supporter lashes out in build-up frustration. This isn't a you versus her cleaning issue as much as it is the issue of everyone here, including her therapist from your comments, underestimated the depression. It is far more diabolical than people want to admit because it's honestly terrifying. Since the depression is so strong right now, personifying it can be helpful. It's the third player on the 4D emotional chessboard here, manipulating pieces and moves so that it can continue to feast merrily. Practical advice? Follow the other commenter's advice to eat your crow while it's fresh and apologize for snapping. It is unfair for you to carry the whole load indefinitely, but empathy and strategy will serve you better here than being right. Go into this with no expectations beyond being able to give a heartfelt apology and say your piece. If things work out, great, and I wish you both the best together. If not, then that's truly unfortunate and I wish you both the best on your paths. Update. Ultimately, I realized that the majority of the blame was mine. I never ever should have called her lazy because that isn't what she is. I lashed out and I shouldn't have. She stayed at her mother's house for a few days and we eventually met up to talk. I told her how it just got too much for me, but it was no excuse for lashing out and I apologized. She apologized also, not that she needed to, and we talked for a long while about how we can make our relationship work. I expressed my concerns over her therapist who was very against anything other than talking therapy. She agreed that he didn't seem to really have her best interests at heart, and she's currently looking for someone new. For now, I suggested she stop looking for work. She got a lot of rejections and I could see that it was upsetting her more. I just felt that we should take a step back from that and I want her to focus a little more on herself. She was unsure as she felt bad that I would be working for the both of us, but I assured her it is fine. I make enough to support both of us quite comfortably. I also suggested maybe she could volunteer at some point just to get her out and get some more stuff on her resume. I'm no therapist, so these were just suggestions, but it has seemed to have taken more of the pressure off of her, which is all I wanted. We agreed that being in the apartment all day alone and in bed is not good for her, so we came up with a plan that she do an exercise video 3 times a week. It's only a 10-minute one, just so that she's doing something. She has found that she likes doing them, they make her feel a bit better after, and has started something called yin yoga now too. To help me, she has 1 chore a day to do. I don't care what it is. It could be dishes, or it could just be putting the laundry in the hamper. This rule has at least gotten her out of bed for part of the day, and she's found that once she starts, sometimes ends up doing more than one thing. I make sure to show my appreciation for whatever she has done, no matter how small it was. We have set out that every Sunday we will have a deep cleaning day where we get everything done for the week. This has been surprisingly successful. We make it fun and just mess around while still getting things done. It makes the week a lot more manageable when we have only light chores to keep on top of. She's trying more, and I'm also working on being more supportive about her depression. I'm researching it more, and learning ways that I can help her because it is part of her. We are both putting more effort in and communicating a lot better. I hope we keep making progress because I do love her very much and want us to work. In the comments, 221 Beehive says, "Great to hear. Depression-induced inability to get out of bed is a vicious circle, and having you there to help her both be accountable, but also as her support, is super important. It's good to see that you've been able to change your behavior, which in turn will help her as well. I'm glad that you've found this balance. I do think you are being hard on yourself as well. Are you familiar with the concept of caregiver fatigue? It sounds like you unknowingly assigned yourself as her caregiver, which is incredibly taxing, especially when it just sort of happened, as opposed to knowingly taking on the job. Living with someone with mental health issues has its own set of challenges. You should seriously looking into getting your own therapist to help you handle that responsibility and manage your own well-being." OP replies, "Thank you for the advice. My girl did suggest to me that I also find someone to talk to, and I think I may. That's good to hear. And remember, you are still allowed to have needs in a relationship. Standing by her while she's actively working on getting healthy is one thing, but if the relationship is only ever one-sided, it will not last. You're allowed to have bad days too, and she needs to be able to support you in return when that happens. People need to realize that therapists can and should be changed if they aren't working. Obviously, you can't expect miracles and demand to see change by session 2, but after so many months and a therapist that's insistent the girlfriend do nothing, that's not working. Girlfriend is lucky that OP decided to stick by her. Yes, it is the depression's fault, but that doesn't mean that OP is obligated to shoulder everything on his own. OP would have been right to quit to protect his own well-being. I hope girlfriend realizes how good she has it and appreciates him more. Also, finding a decent therapist is way more difficult than Reddit would like you to think. Sometimes it's damn near impossible. I've been where the girlfriend is, and it's so hard. Especially when you add the feeling of you're failing your partner when they're obviously trying so hard to help you. Good on both of them for stepping up to find solutions instead of just band-aids. Depression is hard for the person depressed to handle. It is also hard for someone who has never experienced it to know how deeply it can impact someone. Mental illness affects not just the person with it, but also those around them. It's hard to see the other person's perspective when you're in the midst of it. Communication is key always. Ditto. I am shocked at how effing exhausting depression was, and how hard it was to climb out of it. It was like having mono, the same level of total body exhaustion. Our next post is by user Baby Blue Unicorn, titled, "Going to break some legs this weekend, and if I go to jail, it will still be hella worth it. Maybe a little sloppy here because I'm still a bit dizzy. So I live in a split house. We have thin walls. About 6 months ago, a new neighbor moved in. I heard loud noises a few times, then the first time it progressed to screams, I went over to check on her. Her ex-boyfriend was there, she was crying and asking me to make him leave. I told him to go, he did, no incident. It happened again and again. Then I heard her say, 'Stop hitting me,' so I took my glasses off, put on my flip-flops. Friday night lights really made me want to knock someone out wearing a pair of flip-flops, don't judge me, and I went next door. I skipped knocking, came in, and she was curled on the floor crying. I asked where he was, and she pointed at the back, and I saw him through the window sprinting towards his bike. He used his little legs to pump that sucker as fast as he could. Each time, I called the police. Each time they confirmed he had a warrant out already, each time they did absolutely nothing. It happened again last week. He kicked in her door and assaulted her. I was asleep and didn't wake up until towards the end, at which point I grabbed my pants and a t-shirt, skipped putting on shoes, and sprinted next door. He was running again. I told him if he came back, I would find him. I asked neighbors for his address, and then I gave it to the cops, and nothing happened. Today, I went grocery shopping, and was walking home from the store when I feel a crack on the side of my face. I was sucker punched by the neighbor's crazy ex. He has fist fillers. And friends. They found me. I grew up boxing, so I'd like to say that I did well, but I maybe landed 3 punches during the several-man beatdown, and they apparently did little to deter the further ass beating. I just got back from the hospital maybe an hour ago. My face looks mega effed up, but I still have my teeth and no permanent damage. CT scan was clear even. The police are still not doing anything, so I'm gonna hit him up on his porch with a friend and we're going to break his legs. I'm actually not concerned at all about being pinched by police for it, because at this point, their incompetence is endangering my life and the life of my neighbor. A few months in jail is better than being put in a coma. Edit. Girlfriend has talked me down from my adrenaline-fueled rampage. The new plan is to accelerate my plans to move in with her out west and carry a knife when I need to make trips to the store in the meantime for self-defense purposes. Neighbor is currently staying with her dad and looking for a place that nobody knows about with the help of government assistance for abused women program. Edit 2. Just wanted to thank all the people giving me support or calling me a hero. I'm usually a pretty down on myself type dude, so it really did give me a nice mood boost. Especially since I can't sleep because my goddamn cheekbones and forehead are just throbbing. I'm definitely not a hero though. If you're sleeping through someone being beaten and you can do something about it, there is something wrong with you. In the comments, someone says, "Just don't get shot, man." Is it possible you can trick them into coming somewhere where they can't run as easily and call the police beforehand? Also, if you accidentally cause permanent or fatal damage, you'll be facing a lot more than a couple months. The more I think about this plan, the more I think it's probably a bad idea. Is there no other way that you can think of? Speaking as someone whose brother did similar, he ended up in jail for 7 years and actually got out on good behavior early. I don't know what his original sentence was, but the guy was in a coma and was messed up when he woke up. No, pricks like that always have their friends ready. Unless you truly think this situation is worth your life, I'd wait till he comes over again and whack him while his punk friends aren't around. And edit, maybe tell the girl to leave town and do the same. If you want to not go to prison, don't get caught up in bad shit if you don't have to. Second edit, by whack, I don't mean kill. Do not kill anyone. Wait until he comes over and does another dumb thing and catch him while you can still say that it was self-defense. Have OP wait in the building with her next time. He comes in, OP is there. He's not allowed in, breaking and entering, and breaking legs is self-defense as long as you don't keep hitting them while they're down. Update. So as soon as the Americans woke up, this became an aggressive troll show of folks who aren't from Canada telling me how great Canadian police are and that this story can't happen. If you don't believe me, tough. I had a bad couple of days and I'm just straight up gonna report and mute anybody else. I made this as a vent and kept it up because the positive messages were super cool and helping me through a bad night, but honestly, the post-UK hours have just made it super shitty to interact here, and so I'm gonna ignore this going forward, except for updates for the folks interested in hearing about those. Thanks again to the UK folks and some Cali boys who were super kind earlier. Update 2, my headache is gone. The neighbor is at her dad's doing the Christmas thing and is confirmed moving by the end of the month for the sake of everyone. She may have to stay with her dad for a bit, but as long as she has someone keeping her safe, it's all good. She isn't very internet savvy, so I'm not sure she even knows what options are available to her. I know she's been looking into help from the Provincial Emergency Assistance Program, but if any Ontarians, or maybe just Canadians, have any advice on what organizations she might be able to get some extra assistance from, I would appreciate a PM. Update 3, I had a heavy candle holder thrown through my window last night. Cops took it for prints, which surprised me. I doubt that anything will come of it, but whatever. I'm moving in the next week or so. I think her dad's gonna pay some guys to hunt him for the police so they can actually act on the numerous warrants out for this dude. Update 4, move is set for a couple weeks from now. Junkie only ended up spending a couple of days in jail. Apparently this is the standard for the justice system according to the cops, who seem to be equally annoyed by it. I guess what happens is they give him light bail, he posts, he runs, they catch him, give him light bail, he posts, and no judge ever changes the cycle. I'm going to call the court tomorrow, Southern Ontario, to see if there's maybe somebody I can talk to. Victim services were meh. Resolution update. The neighbor just texted me. He's been arrested. Going to see if she knows any more specifics in a little bit, and will share them if she has them. And that's it, that's the last update. There's no more further information than that, and that sucks. In the comments, Mol Morin says, it was disheartening to read that he blames himself for sleeping through the incident next door. We don't get to choose when we deep sleep, mate. Hope he comes to some peaceful terms with himself. This, he already did more than the ones who were supposed to protect her, aka the cops. He's a hero in my eyes. More people need to be like him. What dumbasses are out there claiming the cops in Canada or anywhere give a shit about domestic abuse victims? I was really hoping for this one time to be violent. If any story actually deserves to have violence in it, it's this one. This guy earned it thoroughly. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there, guys. Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're having a fantastic day, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Butt Knuckles, titled, My 26 female, husband's 30 male, best friend 29 male, just kissed me, and I'm unsure of what to do. I'm an immigrant that recently relocated to another country to be with my husband after being long distance with him for several years. Needless to say, my husband is my best friend and I love him deeply. Because I've struggled making my own friends here, I'm on friendly terms with my husband's friends. They are all for the most part decent people and have welcomed me with open arms, which I'm grateful for. We all occasionally hang out, and it's never really been an issue. Recently, I began planning a surprise party for my husband's birthday, and I figured I would reach out to his friends about planning to see if they wanted to help. Enter my husband's best friend, Adam, 29 male. Adam has been my husband's friend for about 10 years now. Adam is married with a wife of his own, who I am friends with. Adam immediately was very supportive of my ideas and was insistent on helping. Many times he offered to drive me around the city to go to different stores since my husband and I don't have a car, which I would decline since I didn't want to cause him any hassle. He would offer to use his place of work as the location for the party. He works at a fancy restaurant. Again, I would decline because my husband isn't the type of person to enjoy birthday celebrations like that. But I would let him know that I appreciated this kind offer and that I felt that he was being very kind and generous as a friend. He was fairly persistent, but I figured it was just because he wanted to make his friend's birthday memorable. Fast forward to this week, Adam texted me and told me that he has a birthday gift for my husband, but he would need help loading it up in his car. I asked about what it was, but he said a joke about how I would tell my husband, so I couldn't know. I didn't think anything of it and agreed to help him today. We drove to the store, got the gift, wrapped, but it was big and heavy, and drove back. He put the car in park, and as I started getting out, he reached out and kissed me. I was taken aback, and I immediately pulled away. I asked him what he was doing, and he said he thought that I was cute and he wanted to shoot his shot. I asked him about my husband, and he said that he didn't need to know. I was just overwhelmed, and I couldn't begin to wrap my mind around what was happening. He apologized and said he thought that I was sending signals because of me saying he was a kind and generous person. He then said that my husband can't know about it because my husband would blame me and would divorce me. I'd have to go back to my home country, etc. I got out of the car and just went inside. My husband was at work, so he doesn't know. I have a lot of conflicting feelings. I know I want to tell my husband because how Adam went about this proves he doesn't have my husband's best intentions in mind and is incredibly selfish. My issue arises in how to go about telling him. I am super upset about this whole thing because it's a weird place to be in. I doubt my husband won't believe me because we have a good trust in each other, but I'm nervous as to how this will affect the relationship. I'm nervous he will redirect those feelings of betrayal towards me. If that's the case, would it be justified? I just need some guidance on how to approach this for minimal damage to my husband. I know it's bound to happen, but I obviously don't want to hurt him if I can. I appreciate any advice. Edit, I've seen everyone's comments saying to tell my husband the truth. I'm planning on telling him when he gets home. However, there seems to be some confusion as to what I'm asking for here. I know I want to tell him, but I'm unsure how to tell him without it having an effect on our relationship. My husband is a good man, but no one wants to be the bearer of bad news that their friend that they had known for years is an awful and manipulative person. I don't know how to breach the subject in a gentle way. I tend to let my emotions get the better of me, and this event has me thinking rather compulsively. I don't want to hurt my husband more than necessary. Any advice on how to tell him would be appreciated. Depending on what happens, I'll update when I can. I guess in this instance, you just tell him as honestly and as truthfully as you have told him anything in the past. It's good that you know that you have to tell him and you aren't going to be hiding this, because if you don't say anything and the friend gets to him first, that's obviously a terrible thing in your husband's point of view. I would just tell him everything that happened every step of the way, expose the surprise birthday party. Your relationship with your husband and the trust you guys have for each other trumps anything else happening here. Screw this best friend. The best friend obviously doesn't care about the husband at all. The faster that he's ejected from your life, the better. In the comments, Chris Lives in Alaska says, I had an acquaintance hit on my girlfriend in my own house. I caught him following her downstairs when he had no reason to be there. He was surprised and mumbled a few words, and my girlfriend was also surprised, as she was confused as to why he had followed her. Needless to say, that guy was no longer welcome in my home, and I only ever saw him once again and simply ignored him that one time. I would tell your husband so that you can control the story. This dirtbag may lie to others about you, or maybe even to your husband. He's already demonstrated that he has no integrity. I would want my wife to come to me when these things occurred. It's one thing to have a strange man hit on your woman, but it's something else completely when a friend pulls this bullshit. Show your husband these responses in Reddit and ask him what he would want his wife to do. OP asks, were you upset with your girlfriend or hold any ill feelings? Did it have any impact on your relationship? I am nervous that this will cause trust issues that are unneeded, as I love my husband very much. I don't know how to assure him that I didn't warrant this. Should I also maybe show the texts between his friend and I? And they reply, I wasn't upset with my girlfriend. I was upset with the guy. It did make me more aware of this risk. My girlfriend was attractive, and I knew she received attention from men regularly. She worked in a restaurant. So the event did cause me to be more aware of how real this type of thing is. Men propositioning attractive young women, although I never assigned any blame to my girlfriend. One thing my girlfriend didn't do, which I would recommend to you, she didn't apologize or assume any responsibility. None of it was her fault, so she felt no need to apologize for anything. Going downstairs, not being aware that he was following her, etc. This really cemented the fact that she played no part in it. It would have felt weird if she had apologized, so no, I never felt that she did anything wrong. Now, if he had been down there alone with her trying to make advances, and I found out through someone else, or if the guy had mentioned it to me, twisting the story, I would have been suspicious, and it could have eroded some trust in my girlfriend. The main thing for your husband is that he understands that this guy is a snake, and that you need him to understand this so that he doesn't give the guy any opportunity to stab him in the back again. You must risk sharing this story so that your husband understands the snake's true character. He also needs to know that so he understands that you don't ever wish to be around him again, so he doesn't wonder why you may avoid certain social settings. Passionflow 888 says, tell your husband ASAP, before Adam tries to change the narrative, and get your husband to side with him. Adam was stupid and disrespectful to you, your husband, and his own wife by making a move on you, then trying to turn it around and saying that you gave him signals. I would be very wary around him, and I worry what actions he would take to cover his ass. You need to protect yourself. OP replies, this was also what I was worried about. Adam seemed a bit unhinged when I didn't reciprocate. It is concerning. I will tell him tonight when he gets home. Update. Hi everyone, it's been a doozy over the last few days, and my post wasn't really all that popular, but I figured I'd update for those that may be curious. Before I go into big details, I just wanted to say thank you for your advice. My husband came home a few days ago, and I surprised him with his favorite meal. I had a day off, and was a ball of nervous energy, so I had cleaned the house, did laundry, and cooked. Basically, I wanted the environment to be as stress-free as possible for my husband because I knew that it was going to be hard on him. So we sat down to eat, and he had been able to tell lately that something's been bothering me, and he asked me what was going on. So I told my husband as gently as I could, and he was understandably upset. Thankfully, Adam didn't get to him before I did, and he believed me. I know a lot of people were worried about Adam telling my husband lies about what had actually happened before I was able to, but this didn't happen, thankfully. He was really mad at Adam for kissing me, but especially mad at him threatening me with deportation. We talked it through, and after a few hours, came to the conclusion that, in order to protect my residency, we would file a police report for assault against Adam. Thank you to those who suggested this. As we talked, Adam sent me a text message that said this: "Hey, I just wanted to check in on you to make sure that you remembered what I said to you in my car yesterday. I really don't want you to go back to home country. I've also been thinking of you. Call me when you get this. We have things we need to talk about." Yeah, creepy stuff, plus low-key threats. It had my husband seeing red and me feeling scared, so I went to the police station that same night that I told him. They seemed freaked out by Adam's most recent text and agreed that it seemed like a veiled threat. So I filed a police report and they are investigating. As other Redditors pointed out, I wasn't the only victim in this situation. The next day, I texted Adam's wife when I knew that Adam was working to see if she wanted to meet up, and she said sure. So we met up and I told her what happened. I showed her the text, and sadly, she didn't take it too well. It's understandable, but this is what I was worried about. She seemed to think that I flirted with him, and she called me a homewrecker. I know this is probably out of lashing out, but it still made me feel bad, both for her and me, for Adam putting us in this situation. It's sad I lost a friend. Shortly after I met with his wife, Adam started blowing up my phone, but I didn't answer. I assume his wife confronted him, or the police called him. I'm not sure what set him off. He then sent me a bunch of texts that just got crazier and crazier to the point where I didn't feel safe. So I called my husband, who was at work, and he told me that Adam was blowing up his phone too. We ended up calling the police because Adam was threatening to come to our apartment and do what he should have done when I was in his car. Edit: I'm seeing some people saying negative things about Adam's wife. I feel it's important to remind Redditors that she is just as much of a victim here as I am. Adam and her have been together for a lengthy period of time, and it makes sense that in her hurt, she would lash out on the closest person. Adam's wife was very kind to me, and the first friend that I made in this country. She would check in on me daily and invite me to meet her friends, cook food for me, helped me find work, etc. She has never once been malicious towards me, and I see no reason to believe that she will start now, and I hold no ill will to her either. In fact, I hope she's able to find peace because she didn't deserve what Adam did to her and their family. The only person in this situation that deserves your negativity is behind bars currently. Please be respectful to her, as she holds a place close to my heart. In the comments, Ataray says, I remember your original post and have kept it open in a tab because I was worried about you. I'm so glad you're safe now. Adam never believed that you were sending him signals. He's just a predator who used that lie to make you feel like you did something wrong. He used your vulnerability as an immigrant to threaten you and make you feel like you couldn't say no to his assault or report it to anyone. He was wrong. He didn't know you well enough to know that you were too strong for that. He was too confident in his ability to intimidate you. He just saw you as an immigrant bride and likely thought that your husband wasn't really in love with you because he thought your husband was like him. You probably aren't the first woman he's taken advantage of. He just got too cocky and made a really bad choice about his latest target. Hopefully your action has lessened the chances of him finding another victim. And OP replies, That's so sweet. I knew people wanted updates and I didn't want to keep people worrying. It was a trying week, but we made it through stronger in the end. I'm very thankful that I got the advice I did. Many commenters repeated what you said about Adam being a predator, and the thought never even occurred to me. Turns out you guys might be right. I'll never believe anyone who says that outside perspective isn't necessary. Lizzie says, I'm glad you filed a report against him. Who knows how many other women he has forced with threats into situations they don't want to be in. Also, kudos to your husband for being your rock. Being kind to someone is not flirting. There were no signals. It was clear that he was trying to manipulate you from the start and trying to trick you into his car. I'm glad that it didn't go worse for you because his threat makes it seem like he had something much worse than a kiss planned. Hopefully you make more friends in your community. Good luck. And OP replies, This was something the investigator said. I don't want to say too much for risking saying too much, but they seem to think that he's done this type of thing before. I'm just thankful that I have the support system I do, and the law enforcement took me seriously. Smooch No says, I'm so sorry that you've been through this. My blood is boiling for you. Adam is a predator, and I just wanted to be another person reassuring you that you did nothing wrong in this situation. Wishing you nothing but the best for you and your husband. And OP replies, Thank you. I'm thankful that I posted on Reddit for guidance. I think my husband and I were a bit too close to the situation and would have tried to explain Adam's behavior away. It was Reddit that made me realize that that was a viable option. Forever grateful to this site. Free Shavakadu says, Just how quickly Adam's mask dropped is insane. 10 years of friendship with OP's husband, 10 years of hiding who he was, and then the manipulation and abusive messages, crazy. I wonder how much Adam's wife has had to deal with throughout the years. These guys are so good at hiding in plain sight. They know how to seem normal and friendly to people who matter, usually men they value, and only show their true face to their intended victims. They count on others to support them, and the scary thing is how often that happens. This is how predator priests and coaches, and heck, serial killers like BTK and the guy they just caught on Long Island, get away with it for years and years. OP's husband is a gem for having his wife's back. Should this be gem behavior? No, it should have been the bare minimum, but we're not there yet. Frayed44456 says, Yeah, that was premeditated. He absolutely went for her because he thought that she was vulnerable because of the citizen status. That text came after with, there are things that we need to talk about, and essentially, it would be a shame if you have to go back to your home country, meant that he was going to coerce her into sex, and with the threat of deportation. Then when that didn't work and it all blew up in his face, just outright said that he would assault her. I don't know if any of you have read The Gift of Fear, but it certainly seems to follow that he had this big plan for when he got her, but before that, wasn't planned out for her to say no, and he just gets beyond pissed when she said no. They don't have plans for when you say no. They need to convince you to go with them to that second location and assume that it will work, so they get really pissed when their plans aren't working out. Won't accept no is that red flag. OP absolutely did the right thing initially by telling her husband, and was able to protect her because of it. I honestly don't know what else to say about this one other than, yikes. That is absolutely scary behavior that we live amongst people like this, whose masks sometimes just don't slip. Thank God OP went straight to their husband, and thank God the husband believed her straight away, because you can see how situations like this would go downhill very quickly and end like they end up in some of these true crime documentaries. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. I'd love to know what you have to say down in the comments below. Our next post is by user Crystal1, titled, "My 28 male, girlfriend 26 female, announced the end of our sex life. Since we started dating nearly a year ago, my girlfriend has suffered a dozen yeast infections and a lot of yeasty discharge. The cause is uncertain, but she believes these infections and discharge are the result of getting an IUD. It's also possible that having raw sex is an aggravating factor. In any case, both of us have tried numerous antifungal meds, oral and topical, to no avail. My girlfriend's theory is that when she gets wet, the yeast grows on the string of the IUD, which causes the infections and discharge. This seems plausible to me, although I'm not a doctor, and I imagine it must be hell for her to deal with. Last night she told me she had enough and was not going to have sex anymore. I asked her if that just meant no penetration, but she said no. She's going to abstain from all sexual activity, including masturbation, because it's too much trouble to get aroused and deal with the subsequent yeast problems, and she needs to keep the IUD to manage her PCOS symptoms. My dilemma is that I love my girlfriend dearly and can envision spending the rest of my life with her. We have so many interests in common. We make each other laugh, we enjoy each other's company, and we care deeply for each other, but I have a very high sex drive and have never contemplated being in a sexless relationship before. I feel like a selfish asshole for thinking this at a time when my girlfriend is not feeling well, but I don't see how our relationship can continue. How can I tell my girlfriend about my needs without making it seem like I don't care about her suffering? Is there any saving this? Please note, I am not seeking medical advice. I'm just looking for advice on how to communicate my needs to my girlfriend without coming across as an asshole. I guess if you're not looking for medical advice and just trying to get your needs across, you could just kind of state how things have been, how this change in the relationship affects you personally, emotionally, physically, and just what impacts that could have on your relationship and you guys going into the future. Perhaps asking her about alternatives to the situation. Maybe it's not the IUD, maybe she can try something else that could perhaps be causing these infections so that you guys can come to a solution together and still have sex within your relationship so that things don't go downhill. In the comments, Honeydew D says, PCOS makes you prone to having yeast infections, and an IUD can increase your risk of getting a yeast infection, so she's getting hit hard. I imagine that she mostly meant this because she feels frustrated and hopeless, and probably uncomfortable. I went through something like this for a while after switching birth control, and my boyfriend and I were just passing the infection back and forth until I stopped taking birth control altogether. That doesn't sound like an option for her, but I encourage her to look at other options for birth control and PCOS treatment. She doesn't want to stop having sex forever. I think she's just really at the end of her rope at the moment. I think if you say all that you've said in the comments and above, I love you, I want to spend my life with you, I love sex with you, and while that's not the most important factor here, it is still very important to me, and I hope to you too. I can't imagine how frustrating this has been to you and physically uncomfortable and challenging. I think you should really consider other options and explore other treatments, perhaps see a different doctor if possible. Ignoring the issue doesn't solve it. And the diet thing really does help a lot of people. Rather than tell her she needs to change, maybe make changes to both of your lives together and tell her that you'll be her partner in it. Cook healthier meals together, find substitutions to her favorite processed foods, or whatever foods are on the list doctors have told her to avoid. Foods can't solve all issues, but maybe taking steps together in the right direction will encourage her to look at other avenues and show her that you truly just want her to be happy. I wouldn't come at this about losing sex. This is a deeper issue, and at the crux is your girlfriend ignoring some health issues that could be dangerous for her long term. Darth Ganji says, when I had an IUD, I had reoccurring infections every time I had sex. It stopped when I had it removed. Maybe she needs to find an alternative to the IUD. And OP says, that sounds like what's happening here. She has the IUD to manage irregular periods stemming from her PCOS. An alternative would be to take the pill, but she's forgetful and thus won't consider going on the pill. She's so forgetful that I even have to remind her to drink water, otherwise she gets dehydrated. Getting dehydrated regularly and having a diet that has a lot of sugar doesn't help her situation. More hydration could help flush excess bacteria and give her body more strength to fight infections. Hey, this is a serious cause for alarm. I've had both the copper and hormonal IUD. Reoccurring infections made me grow so much scar tissue on my cervix that I'm no longer able to conceive. Your girlfriend needs to reevaluate what is okay and not okay. Abstaining from all sex, I would say, is extremely unhealthy. It's unrealistic and shows that she's in a state of distress over this. I would suggest she read more into bacterial vaginitis, which is most likely what's going on. Common issue with IUDs. Best of luck to the both of you. And OP replies, I didn't know about the scar tissue. That's definitely worrisome. Although she doesn't want to have biological children because she has PCOS, and she says the fertility treatments are too difficult to be worth enduring. She's been to gynecologists who have tested her and concluded that she doesn't have BV, but rather a standard yeast infection. Not sure what she can do besides find an alternative to the IUD, which she's unwilling to do. Unsightly Fuzz says, quote, she doesn't want to have biological children because she has PCOS, and she says the fertility treatments are too difficult to be worth enduring. Okay, this is another example of misinformation. People with PCOS can and do get pregnant, often without fertility treatments. They may have more trouble, but if she's never tried it, she can't know that she will fail to conceive. So on the basis of mistakenly believing she can't get pregnant naturally, she decides that she doesn't want to have biological children at all. You may have to do more of the thinking in this relationship. Bless her heart, but she's not a critical thinker. Be diplomatic about it though. Update. I discussed how my girlfriend decided to end our sex life after nearly a year of dating. She cited health concerns, namely repeated painful yeast infections and a loss of libido due to hormonal birth control, as the reason for ending our sex life. I suggested to her that she see a doctor about both issues. She has seen a doctor about the yeast infections and gotten a powerful new course of antifungals. Hopefully she'll feel better in a few weeks. She doesn't want to do anything about her loss of libido though, because she doesn't think that I inspire her to want to have sex. Last night, she told me that she doesn't find me all that attractive, which makes her less interested in sex than she was before. She also said that I'm not good at flirting and doesn't make her feel like wanting to have sex, whereas her exes would turn her on with flirting. Moreover, she feels that I have sex like a dad and makes her feel like a wife rather than a girlfriend. I am devastated. She doesn't understand why I'm so upset and is terrified that I'm going to break up with her. She says she is happy with a sexless relationship and loves me so much and loves how much I care for her and loves all the things that I do for her. She tried to initiate sex last night and I was so pissed that I rejected her for the first time in our relationship and she burst into tears. She had a very active sex life for years before she met me. Even if she thinks it doesn't matter, it makes me feel very low to think that she felt more sexual attraction and interest for her exes who treated her so poorly in her view. I understand that I have lots of room to improve on flirting and sex positions and whatnot, but wouldn't a partner who says she loves me so much want to help me with that, rather than give up on sex with me? Is that too much to expect from a woman who tells me all the time that she's looking forward to getting married to me? My therapist thinks that my girlfriend is assigning blame to me so that she doesn't have to feel bad about her loss of libido. I recognize that I'm partially responsible, but I can't help but agree with my therapist too. Update. I broke up with her. I was at her place and I started to pack my bag. She insisted that I leave immediately without packing my bag. I continued to pack my bag and then she grabbed my right arm. She then started punching my right arm. She then grabbed my back and I fell backward and hit my left arm on the edge of her bathtub. I wrestled free of her and got the hell out of her place. Further on the breakup, yes, I spoke to my ex. She and her roommate have concocted a different narrative, because I was angry when I broke up with her, and because I was physically abused by a chronically angry father as a child, my ex was scared for her safety. She was worried that I have my abusive dad's blood. Out of fear, she demanded multiple times that I leave her house. I insisted on packing up my stuff first, which made me a trespasser. Then my ex was entitled to use force to remove me from the premises, which is why she assaulted me. The reality is that I needed 30 seconds to pack my stuff. I am a completely non-violent person and would never hurt a soul. Victim of abuse though I may be. My ex is here in the US on a student visa. She's terrified that if I press charges against her, she'll be sent back to Latin America and her entire life dream would evaporate. My ex, her friends, and her therapist now think that I'm unstable and narcissistic. My friends, and my therapist think that she's unstable and has borderline personality disorder. Sounds like an impasse to me, but that's okay. It's not like I want to be with her anyway. In the comments, Golden Mandala says, "People need to leave abusive partners. I'm so very glad that OP left. I hope he finds a girlfriend who he can build a healthy relationship with." I Am Your Daddy says, "I just got out of a relationship with an abusive partner who refused to compromise on anything and just generally didn't like me. It's just not that clear-cut or easy. I told myself 1,000 times that I should just leave, only to decide that I was being silly because being alone would be so much harder. Most people are just afraid to be alone. Having a shitty partner that takes advantage of you, lies to you, and hurts you constantly is still better than being alone forever and never finding anyone again. Those aren't the two options, but it's so damn hard to see that. You don't know that you'll find love again. Even once you get left or leave, it takes months to see how much you are compromising and losing out on in a relationship." And Hungry Treacle 3376 says, "That's one of the problems when you've never taken the time to get to know yourself. Most people have never been alone for more than a month or two before they jump into the next easy relationship instead of actually considering if the person is a healthy fit for them. The default should be single until you find a compatible partner, not, I need to find a new boyfriend or girlfriend. You need to be content with being single, otherwise you're just taking advantage of the other person to cover for your own insecurities and settling, and that's never going to lead to a healthy relationship. As I'm writing this, I realize it could seem like I'm directing this towards you personally, but I'm just using the colloquial you and trying to add on to your conversation." And yeah, I feel like that's some good advice to end on with that one. I am very glad that OP got out of that situation. It sucks how it turned out and how the friends of the ex and their therapist are backing her up on this, and I don't know how they don't see the forest through the trees. But hey, I guess everyone can give their own biased spin on situations. Maybe OP is giving us a biased spin. We don't know the ex's side of this situation. We don't know it from her point of view. It's hard to be objective sometimes. All I can say is I'm on OP's side and I support them in getting out of there because she does sound a bit crazy to me, I won't lie. That is a crazy reaction. That is a crazy way to accuse someone of potentially being violent to you when they've never been violent to you before. Oh my god, you've been a victim of violent abuse, therefore you're going to be violent and abusive to me when I'm telling you to get out of my house. I don't know, just the thought of being in a situation like that really scares me. I myself don't know how I would deal with something like that, and I hope never to be put in a situation like that. Anyway guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this story down in the comments below. And that's where I'm going to wrap up today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, obviously, let me know what you thought of everything here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by a deleted account, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my mother she was being childish over my wife falling asleep half naked in her living room?" Okay, so my wife and I are visiting my mother this week. She and I don't have a good relationship with my mother, but due to some recent stuff going on in our lives, my wife said she wanted to maybe try to mend that relationship, and I agreed and reached out to her, and we scheduled a visit. The first day went pretty well, as did yesterday. Then last night, we were sleeping in the guest room and heard the baby crying, and my wife got up to go get him. So here's what happened. She was wearing a t-shirt and underwear when she got up to take care of the baby, then she took off her shirt to feed the baby, put the baby back down, then she just lied on the floor of the living room and fell asleep without putting her shirt back on. She was essentially just sleepwalking. My mother woke me up this morning and told me that my wife was on the living room floor in just her bottoms and seemed extremely offended that she did that and told me to get her that instant. I woke her up and got her shirt back, and we went back to the room where she got dressed. She was really embarrassed and told my mother she was sorry, but my mother wouldn't let it go and kept going on about how she couldn't believe she did that while we were guests in her house. I told her she was being extremely childish since she had to raise a baby before too, and should know how hectic it can be. This made her very angry and led to a pretty intense argument that ended with us getting our things and leaving. My wife is really embarrassed and feels really bad, and I'm pissed. I get that it was her house we were staying at, but for Christ's sake, my wife just had a baby and has been working her ass off taking care of him. Am I the asshole? Edit. Something I should have mentioned in the post. My wife is autistic, so she can behave in strange manners sometimes. And yes, my mother knows that. Edit 2. To clarify, yeah, we had the baby's cot in the living room, so she just lied down after putting him down. Honestly, not the asshole for this one. I don't know why your mother has such a stick up her ass, but I can kind of grasp that there isn't a good relationship between you guys. Yes, this trip out to stay with her was meant to fix things, but unfortunately this event occurred, which should have been a non-issue, but your mum decided to take things up a notch and cuss both of you guys out. I think I can see why there is a tumultuous relationship between you guys. I think that she is the one with the issue here. She has been a mother, you are correct. She should know what it's like, but yet she still attacks you for God knows why. Not the asshole. In the comments, ToneLock427 says, not the asshole, and good on you for sticking up for your wife. Autistic or not, she's exhausted. And you probably are too if you're pulling your weight and doing a fair share of the new baby duties. Obviously it wasn't an intentional offense, and your wife is embarrassed already. Instead of finding a way to help or comfort your wife, she chooses to find malice in it and continue to shame her after an apology. I can only shake my head in disbelief at her and some of the post here's lack of empathy and understanding. I definitely wouldn't waste too much time, energy, or effort on a relationship with someone like that. Good luck with the newborn and finding a better support network. Serial Killer 2012 says, boobies are boobies. They sustain life. Not the asshole. I feel like this would be totally understandable given the circumstances. Yes, it's a little awkward, but your wife is literally sleep-deprived and trying to feed a baby. She apologized. That should be enough. Maybe a relationship with your mum isn't meant to be. Not the asshole. What is wrong with your mother? I'm a ma'am and nana, and if I saw any woman, regardless if she's family or not, I would just help her to bed and look after the baby for her. I know how hard it is, especially the early months of no sleep and just numb head. Sleeping on a hard floor is pure exhaustion. Your poor wife being made to feel terrible by your mum of all people is horrible. Not the asshole. Your mum is. This is a family member, not a stranger's house, and your mum should have sympathy for how exhausting it is to feed a baby, and then won't accept an apology? No wonder your wife doesn't like her. Operation 009 says, it sounds to me like Opie's mother never liked his wife and is looking for any reason to berate her. She's exhausted because she's been busting her back to take care of her baby. Don't care. She's childish for sleeping half-dressed. If your mother continues to treat your wife like this, it is time to start limiting contact. Your wife deserves much better treatment from your in-laws than this. And OP replies, yeah, my mum never really seemed to get my wife. The first time they met, my mum was pretty confused by her and even asked me, are you sure you want this? Update. Okay, so 2 months ago, I made a post about how my wife, 8-month-old son, and I were visiting my mother's house when my wife put our son to sleep after feeding him on the first night and was so tired she fell asleep on the floor with her shirt off, which made my mother very unhappy, and I told her that she was being childish and we left. Since then, my mother and I have been able to draw up some sort of truce where things are about where they were before, if not a little worse. However, I know a lot of people were concerned about my wife, and I just wanted to share something that happened today. So my wife's stepsister and her 5-year-old daughter are visiting us right now. Last night, my wife was watching TV in the living room, and our son was in his living room cot, and she fell asleep on the couch with the TV on and the baby asleep. Then she ended up doing the same thing where she woke up in the middle of the night and took her shirt off to feed him, and then fell asleep on the couch without her shirt on. This morning, her niece was the first one downstairs, and she saw my wife and woke her up and was giggling like, "Auntie, you fell asleep without your shirt on," and then picked up her shirt off the ground and gave it back to her. My wife said she felt very embarrassed and mortified at first, but then immediately after she put it back on, my niece quickly moved on to asking about what was for breakfast, and the two of them went into the kitchen to talk and make everyone breakfast. And her niece didn't once mention finding her on the couch without her shirt. My wife told me that it really made her realize just how much of a not big deal the situation with my mother was, and how my mother was just being a baby, and she now feels a lot better about that whole situation that I posted about. It's pretty tragic and hilarious that an effing 5-year-old child handled the situation with more grace and maturity than my grown-ass mother did. Anyway, yeah, that made me really happy, and I wanted to share it since it probably would make a bunch of others who were worried about her happy too. Smiley face. In the comments, Marianne0601 says, "Kids don't create drama where there is none. I have to tell you, I'm 56, and if a woman with a baby fell asleep with no shirt on anywhere in my house, and I found her, I would be thankful she didn't accidentally walk out the door. Babies are exhausting. As long as everyone is safe, that is all that matters." Right? Not even a year old yet. That is so tough on mums and dads. I'd give her a pillow and cover her with a blanket. She'd be my daughter-in-law. After all, family? This, put a blanket on her and make sure no one wakes her up. Like a normal person? You said kids don't create drama where there is none? Clearly you've not met my 3-year-old. This morning she cried for half an hour because she was wearing blue socks. Socks she picked out and put on herself. Have you seen that video of the doorbell cam footage where the mum is with the 3 little kids and one of them starts crying because he wanted to be the one to push the screen door closed? Educational C9875 says, "Is your wife okay? 8 months and still so exhausted that she's passing out naked on living room floors seems a little extreme. I get being tired, babies are exhausted, but I don't remember that level of tired at 8 months with any of my 3. Has she talked to her doctor? With newborns, you wake up every couple of hours, but by 8 months, the baby should be sleeping a good stretch through the night. Does she nap when she can catch up on sleep? Does baby sleep a 4 to 6 hour stretch? Do you get up at night ever? Or can you take the baby for a few hours when you get home so that she can have a nap before bedtime?" OP replies, "We thought the exact same thing, so after that happened, we made sure that she was getting good sleep. I do everything I can around the house, and my father-in-law and stepmother-in-law have been coming by often to help out when I'm at work and to make sure that she can take naps and isn't overly exhausted." I had a similar experience to OP's wife when I was nursing. It was an iron deficiency. I was looking for this comment. Anemia and lack of vitamin D are pretty common problems postpartum, and they absolutely destroy any semblance of motivation and energy. My issue was a second pregnancy and hypothyroidism, then it was postpartum anxiety completely disturbing my sleep. Are you okay now? That must have been overwhelming, on top of parenting, recovery, and just trying to get on from one day to the next. Thank you for asking. I have to admit, 6 years after my second kid was born, my physical and mental health could be better. I'm so grateful to be able to rely on my partner, who is an excellent father to our kids. I'm not at a crisis point like 6 years ago, but being in a crisis for so long, it takes a lot of strength to pull yourself out of it. Our next post is by user Am I the Asshole, Mine or His, titled, "Am I the asshole for wanting to move in with my parents and not my husband's, and suggesting putting them in a nursing home? I, 35 female, have owned our home since before marriage, and we have a prenup. In day-to-day life, we refer to it as our home, but my husband, 37 male, has never paid anything towards it and has no legal rights to it. As of this post, our parents are still alive, but my husband and I were both the youngest children, and our parents are all much older. His mom has some dementia, and his dad has some major mobility issues. They can no longer stay in their home. Due to mother-in-law wandering the street recently, adult social services have been involved. He has 2 siblings, one is an addict and is in prison, the other has 4 kids and lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. Neither of his siblings can take them in, so it's us or a nursing home. Both of my parents are older and have recently retired. They live in a major city but can't afford to live there on just retirement. They need to move. My older brother is dead, so it's just me that my parents can rely on. I want to move my parents in with us. They are both easygoing people, and my husband gets along with them well. They also can contribute to the household finances. They wouldn't be a burden on us at all. My husband's parents just live off Social Security and are going into debt because of their medical costs. They would be a major burden on us. We'd have to take care of them and provide for them full time. My husband works much longer hours than I do, so I'd be responsible for them. My in-laws also aren't very appreciative people, and I don't like them. I mentioned that I want to move my parents in with us, and we could use the money we'd save from their financial help to put his parents in a decent home. He was furious. He thinks that we should take his parents in, and my parents can just move somewhere cheaper and manage their own retirement funds fine. I don't think this is reasonable at all. I expressed that he doesn't have the time to look after his medically needy parents, nor can he afford in-home healthcare. He said, as his wife, I should look after his parents out of love for him. I think his response is kind of bullshit, to be honest. I told him under no circumstances will his parents be moving in, and he's welcome to move out and care for them elsewhere. I told him if he decides to stay, I'll respect his decision of not wanting my parents to move in, and I can look into other options for them. Am I the asshole for not being willing to let my in-laws move in, but wanting my own parents to move in? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my husband that I want my parents to move into our home, and I want to put his parents into a nursing home. I can see where he thinks I'm the asshole, because my parents have a few options: assisted living or living somewhere cheaper, whereas his parents only have him or a home. Ah yes, a situation like this, a major anxiety of mine. In all realities, I think it would be way too hard for you guys to look after his parents. That would be way too much of a burden on your relationship and your finances. While not a good option at all, I do think the best option for everyone's sanity is that they go to a nursing home. A lot of people are going to have opinions against that, and I say life isn't fair, and sometimes you have to make the choices that suit you best, because if you light yourself on fire for others, you are going to crash and burn. It's just as simple as that. I can understand why the husband doesn't want, your parents moving in and he wants his, but he hasn't put himself in a situation where he can provide that care for his parents, and his parents obviously haven't put themselves in a situation where they can be provided for by their own funds. Obviously, I don't know the full story, I don't know the circumstances surrounding that, and it's unfortunate to make those claims. But that seems to be the reality of the situation. I think him pressuring you and forcing you to agree with his way or the highway is really unfair, and it seems as though this would be a relationship breaker. Still, I'm on your side. I wouldn't want to deal with that. Not the asshole. In the comments, MJKW says, not the asshole. You will carry the burden of doing the majority of the work. By the sounds of it, your in-laws need people with proper medical training to properly take care of them. OP says, I previously worked as a nurse. Now I work from home hospital admin, and that's part of why he expects me to do it, I think. Let me guess. You're going to have to take care of his parents and still be expected to work and bring in income. Correct. He says I can work from home and care for his parents at the same time. Yeah, nah. Hard pass. I've worked as an in-home CNA, and let me tell you, with 2 people needing help, mobility issues, and dementia, there is no way you could work from home as well. That's a more than full-time job just caring for them. This would be such a hard pass for me. My wife and I joined our household with her parents because father-in-law had dementia and mother-in-law could no longer take care of him by herself. She still did the hardest stuff, dressing and some of the bathroom, but at times it took all 3 of us. I can't imagine taking care of 2 people. OP's husband has 0 clue, but I understand his sentiment, so not the asshole. Dogs Reading Books says, quote, he said as his wife, I should look after his parents out of love for him. That's misogynistic AF, not the asshole. Oh, I would have put a period on the end of that sentence. I am going to pretend that you didn't say that. I am walking away so you can reconsider exactly what you said and why it is a big red flag. He can retract that statement and try again, work it out in couples counseling, or we can jump straight to divorce and you can get the hell out of my house and figure out your parents completely on your own. Nope, I am not playing the if you love me game. Update. I spoke to my husband for an hour about it. I think that he thought that I would cave, but I'm not. Our marriage is done, and honestly, I'm okay with it. I bring a lot more to the table, and I'm ready to be with someone who is an equal partner. Certain aspects of his culture I admire, but the relentless idea of sacrificing everything so that your parents are comfortable is something that I don't agree with. They've always treated me poorly, and I'm not willing to sacrifice for them. My husband packed some clothes and is going to stay on his friend's couch for a while. I'm going to move my parents in later this month, and I'm going to change the locks and move his stuff out to a storage unit tomorrow. He can't afford a lawyer, so I'll find one to represent us both, and that'll be it. I don't know what he'll do about his parents, and I don't care. He doesn't make enough to pay for their care, so they're probably going to go to the only nursing home in the area that works with Medicare. It is a truly awful place, rampant with abuse and neglect, which does suck for them. But they treated me like shit, so that's life, I guess. Edit Part 2. A lawyer can't represent both of us apparently, and can only mediate us both. Shitty, but whatever. I'll get myself one, and if he can't come up with the money, I'll get whoever's cheapest, I guess. Honestly, yeah, that is life. Life is unfair, I'll say it again. Life doesn't end well for a lot of people. I'm not going to comment anymore on the husband situation. I don't want to dig myself a hole that I can't get out of. I'm glad that OP is doing what is best for her, and it seems as though this is the best outcome from a terrible and tragic situation. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're doing well, and thank you for tuning in. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's just get right into it. Posted by user 067 Step on Me Please, titled, Am I the butthole for refusing to take over my wife's household chores? I, 34 male, recently had a heated argument with my pregnant wife, 30 female, and I'm wondering if I'm the asshole here. After a year of trying, my wife is currently 7 months pregnant with our first child, but it hasn't been smooth sailing. She's been dealing with morning sickness, fatigue, and other pregnancy-related challenges. I've been supportive, buying her cravings, and attending all OB/GYN appointments. However, things changed when she started expecting me to do more around the house. I want to clarify that I'm not a misogynist. I understand that household chores can be shared, but in our household, it's been our arrangement that she handles most of them. I work a demanding full-time job, and I often come home exhausted. However, my wife believes that since she's pregnant, I should take on the majority of the household chores. She insists that she needs more rest and less stress for the sake of our baby. I provide for us financially, and I believe that should be enough. The baby would be more affected by growing up in a poverty-stricken home, right? I think it's fair for her to handle most of the chores, since she's not working, and she's not physically incapable of doing them. I understand that she may need naps or breaks due to pregnancy discomfort, but not doing any chores at all seems excessive. We had a huge fight the other day when she asked me to do the laundry. I was tired after work, and I told her that it was her responsibility if she wanted it done that night. I explained that I would be willing to help on the weekends, but it's not my agreed-upon role. She got upset, accusing me of not caring about her or the baby. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She claims the baby will suffer if she does housework, which I don't understand. She called me selfish, saying I shirk my responsibilities as a husband and a father. I argued that she was being lazy and expecting too much. We didn't speak for the rest of the evening. The next day, seeking advice, I talked to friends and family who all sided with me. They said my wife was being unreasonable and taking advantage. They agreed I was already doing enough by providing financially. Feeling validated, I confronted my wife and shared what others had said. She got angrier, accusing me of twisting the situation to make myself look good. She claimed I was surrounded by biased people who didn't understand her challenges as women. I'm frustrated and hurt. I genuinely believe that I'm not in the wrong. I work hard to support our family, and we have agreed upon household roles. She never mentioned her pregnancy involving me taking over chores. I fear this will escalate when the baby is born, and I don't have time for that. I think she's being unreasonable and is expecting too much. Am I the asshole? I'm gonna have to say yes in this situation because she's 7 months pregnant and has been dealing with a range of things that have made this more difficult than it needs to be. I think that you should start picking up the slack around the house and helping your wife out more. I thank you for coming to strangers to ask for help and not just doubling down on your own opinions and thoughts on this situation. But yeah, absolutely, for your current trend of behavior, and if it does continue into the future, you are the asshole and you would be the asshole for that. In the comments, Imaginary Sunday says, "You're the asshole. She's heavily pregnant for crying out loud. She's uncomfortable and exhausted 24/7. This isn't about you. Your partner is asking for support, and you've not only made it clear that you won't step up to support her with everyday things that she's clearly struggling to do, but you deliberately sought out opinions of others so you could try to convince her that she's being unreasonable. Stop gaslighting your partner and grow up. Yes, you're tired and have a lot of responsibilities, but instead of getting butthurt about it, this is your turn to step up for your partner when they need you. If you can't manage this much before your kid is even born, good luck in parenthood." OP replies, "I agree she's exhausted, but she's not as uncomfortable as you make it out to be. She goes for walks in the morning with her friends and can still function throughout the day. She seems perfectly capable of doing all the other chores and only takes a nap once in the afternoon. Her pregnancy is going pretty well right now, that we have gotten past the morning sickness stage. My point is, she doesn't seem that exhausted, except for when it's time to do the chores, when she's all of a sudden fatigued and asks me, after 9.5 hours of work plus commute, to do all of them for her." Sparkle Sparkle Meow says, "So, just to give you some perspective, I'm currently 6 months pregnant, and it's taken a huge toll on my body physically. My center of gravity has changed, so I'm a lot more clumsy. When I lift a basket of laundry, it pulls on the ligaments in my stomach and leaves pains for the rest of the day. I'm peeing all of the time, accidentally starting to fall asleep standing sometimes, still triggered and throw up from time to time. On top of that, on the days when I've pushed myself too hard, either through exercise or through doing house chores, I get a migraine that lasts for a day and doesn't go away with any paracetamol. On top of all of this, sleep has become rough from about the 3rd month. It's painful in certain positions, and on top of that, I haven't had a solid 8-hour sleep in ages. I'm sure there are so many more symptoms that I've had that I'm forgetting. Your wife is not trying to be lazy or not help the home. She's probably really struggling physically and needs you to help her. Too much stress on the body does actually affect the baby, because your body is also trying to take care of you. I really think that you should research or watch some videos on the experience as a pregnant woman and show your wife that you're trying to put yourself in her shoes. So far, it doesn't sound like you're trying to empathize with her experience. She is doing a huge job for your family by creating this baby for you and then dealing with all of the postpartum trauma and hardship. Think about it this way too. Women get paid to carry babies for couples as a job, as a surrogate. Your wife is doing that for you. She's really in a way doing several jobs: cleaner, house manager, and pregnancy. With how you've reacted to her and treated her, right now, you're the butthole." OP replies, "Genuinely, thank you so much for this comment. I asked my wife about this and if she felt any of this, and she told me that she did, and I realized I was just so blind and inconsiderate. I did do my research and watch some videos, but I mostly talked to my wife and truthfully asked her what she wanted. Please leave me any more notes or help if I can under my update. I've opened my eyes now." Update. So it turns out my brother-in-law is pretty active here. Hi, Rob. So my wife confronted me after discovering my previous post, and I want to share the outcome of our conversation. I made a mistake by assuming that she wasn't or was barely struggling with her pregnancy due to a lack of open communication. She rightfully called me out for dismissing her feelings in the past, and it hit me hard. We had a 2-hour conversation where she expressed her experiences and challenges, and I realized how wrong I was for assuming she was okay when she wasn't. Thank you for all the mums who commented under the original post too. It really shocked me. We also discussed our vision for parenting, and she made me aware that prioritizing work would mean minimal time with our child. This resonated with me as I grew up with an absent father and really don't want the same for my child. We talked about tasks that she could comfortably do, considering her physical limitations, like washing dishes and folding clothes while sitting. In return, I agreed to help with everything else, such as mopping, gardening, cooking, making the bed, and doing the laundry. I realized that rigid roles in the household were problematic, especially with a baby on the way. We need to be flexible and support each other as needed. To those who called me out for appearing sexist, it was never my intention. The situation stemmed from a lack of communication and empathy on my part, which I now recognize. I promised to her to learn from this experience and to be a better partner. Also, not an excuse, but I've been so obsessed with work these past few months as I just got a promotion, and I think that's why I've been so blind. If I proceeded like this, I know for a fact that my children would suffer and I would live to regret it. I apologized profusely to my wife because holy shit, I was an idiot. We considered hiring a nanny, but my wife isn't comfortable with the idea yet. Instead, my sister will help out occasionally. To actively participate in parenting, I will take paternity leave in about a month. It's the bare minimum, but it shows my commitment to being more involved and supportive. Lastly, we are thrilled to announce that we'll be welcoming a baby girl into our lives. I want to apologize deeply to my wife, the Reddit community, and anyone affected by my previous post. I've learned valuable lessons about communication, empathy, and understanding during this transformative time. Thank you for holding me accountable and offering support and guidance. In the comments, Stoat King says, "When I read, I provide for us financially, and I believe that should be enough, the baby would be more affected by growing up in a poverty-stricken home, right? My immediate thought was, well, that's your marriage effed." I'm very glad that it didn't turn out that way and that OP saw sense. It doesn't happen that often in posts like this. The ability to admit that you were wrong seems to be surprisingly rare. You don't have to look past Reddit itself to find endless examples. This has cheered me up regardless. Good luck to them. My immediate thought was that providing for a child is the minimum a parent needs to do. If you actually want to be good at something in life, you need to do more than the minimum. I laugh so hard at all these schmucks who are like, I work a long day and commute, and now she expects me to do chores too? Like, what the hell do you think single people do, buddy? I work a full-time job and I also clean and cook for myself and care for my pets. Like, that's the bare minimum for a functional adult. It's not an optional chore that you can forego once you obtain a wife appliance. I mean, get married. He felt that he was being a top-notch supportive husband because he bought the occasional snack and attended appointments regarding the health and development of his child. But doing a load of laundry so your heavily pregnant wife gets a tiny break? No, that's way too much commitment. I'm happy that he wised up because it would have been true hell for his wife having to care for the chores and the baby alone while being called lazy if she tried to get her husband to do just the smallest thing around the house. Orba says, I just want to say that everybody should get educated before choosing to get pregnant. For me, the biggest what the hell moment was reading that the pregnant body starts to loosen the joints to prepare for birth, but does so several months in advance. Meaning pregnant women have a harder time getting a tight grip with their hands, elbows and knees go whichever way they like, ankles become life-threatening. I am a clumsy person by nature, but while pregnant, I dropped my food and drinks often. I walked into things daily, and I tripped and fell down several times. Niv727 says, quote, she seems perfectly capable of doing all the other chores. My point is, she doesn't seem that exhausted except for when it's time to do the chores. So, is she doing the chores or not doing them? You were able to do all the other chores without being tired, so clearly you're lying about being tired to do these chores. Red Rose Beetle replies, I don't think he has a concept of pregnancy time. She might have been easily doing some chores 1 to 2 weeks ago, and now it's an issue for her to do more, but the pregnancy keeps progressing, so she has more and more issues come up. And yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good one to end the post on there. I'm very much happy that OP has come to the light and has seen that, yeah, he was being a bit of a blind asshole here. I can see how a promotion at work can definitely blind you to what's happening in front of your eyes because you want to focus on that. Like, yeah, that's your livelihood. That's keeping you guys going. But she's 7 months along, and yeah, she has more and more issues coming up day to day. Thank God he was able to snap back into reality and not crash and burn that relationship because, Jesus Christ, can you imagine? Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments below. Our next post is by user, the Hermit of Carcosa, titled, I met my wife's boyfriend, and I felt like a guest in my own home. This weekend, I met my wife's new boyfriend. I have a lot of feelings about it, and although my wife listened to me, she literally said, I don't know how to respond to your concerns, and that ended the conversation. To set the stage, this was not our first time meeting the other's partners. I have met a now ex-boyfriend of hers, and she met my current girlfriend. In both cases, we went out to lunch in public and had a friendly getting-to-know-you conversation, did a second activity, and then parted ways. There was no touching between anyone during the initial meetings. It was just a friendly Hinge chat to introduce metas. This weekend, my wife had invited her boyfriend over for breakfast and didn't prep for it at all. She was in bed minutes before he arrived and sent me to the stores to buy everything that we needed. I said that we should go out at that point, but she said she wanted to cook. When I got home, he was already in my house with my wife in the master bedroom while she was getting ready. This made me tense because we had never had other people in our bedroom before, and my wife had previously marked it as her hard boundary. I was nervous about meeting this guy because we had a three-way phone call a month ago, and I wasn't digging his personality. And now I was on edge because of the groceries, because she wasn't ready, and because he was in my space. The guy comes out of my bedroom, and he's wearing a full suit and tie while I'm in t-shirt and jeans. I perceive this as an odd choice and a power imbalance. My wife later told me that he always wears suits, but that literally is not true, because after breakfast he changed clothes to go on a date with her and ended up in a t-shirt and jeans. We sit down at the table and my wife starts cooking. Already this is uncomfortable to me because the hinge is missing from our conversation. Previously we sat down at a table together, but my wife was effectively uninvolved in me meeting him for the first time, just occasionally chiming in while cooking. And we didn't really vibe. We'd ask each other a question or two, and then it would peter out until a new topic came up. When the conversation died down, the boyfriend just spews sexual comments, saying that he wants to bend her over the kitchen table right now, that she should stop cooking and suck our dicks, asking if we want to jump into a threesome right now, etc. When we previously spoke on the phone, this is part of what made me uncomfy because the conversation was going well until he hyperfixated on sex and any other conversation broke down. I had previously conveyed this to my wife after the call, but I'm ashamed to say I didn't stand up for myself. I have difficulties saying what I want in the moment. I was also trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't want to be too aggressive when meeting him for the first time. My wife sits down with plates of food, and the guy asks if he can sit next to her. We have a square table with a chair on each side. He picks up his chair and sat on the same side of the table as her, which was super weird to me, and it made me uncomfortable. My wife later insisted he always does this. My beef is that I felt like he didn't view this as an opportunity to meet me, he viewed it as a date with my wife, and also I was there. After the plates were put away, I went to the bathroom and came back to them making out in the kitchen. This was my first time visually seeing my wife with another person, and I was fine with it. But then, as I started doing the dishes, he pushed her down on the couch and fully got on top of her, making out and groping her. My wife said no and pushed him off, so he went to the bathroom. At this point, I talked to my wife and said that her boyfriend was making me extremely uncomfortable in my own home, and that I wanted him to tone it down. He walked up behind me, having gone in the hall, but not actually gone to the bathroom, and said, "Oh, don't mind me, I'm not eavesdropping." I asked my wife to meet me in private to express my frustration. She said that this is just how he is. I said we didn't talk about boundaries for this meeting, that I assumed it would be like the other two meetings that we've had, in the second paragraph, and that many of the things that he's done has crossed lines for me and made me feel uncomfortable in my house. She says to give her a minute and she'll take care of it. I return to the kitchen and he's changing clothes. He's brought all his clean laundry in a suitcase and was cycling through outfits, asking my wife what she thought of each. I later told my wife that that was extremely weird to me, especially since she went out there with the intent to tell him to tone it down. She said the alternative was that she and he go into the bathroom while he changes. Fast forward, they leave to go on their date. I stay busy the rest of the day and can't get a hold of my wife from noon to midnight. I go to bed, having asked her to check in 3 times. Called her, no response. At 4 a.m., she woke me up to ask if he could spend the night because they had been out until 3:30 a.m. and it was an hour's drive back to his house. I said no because we had planned a full day just for us the next day. My wife went out to talk to him, then he came back and said that he was too tired to drive and asked me to reconsider. I'm barely awake, so I begrudgingly say fine. My wife promises not to stay out so late again, and we go to bed, and boyfriend sleeps in the guest room. My wife and I had planned to go to breakfast, but had to put that on pause because the boyfriend hadn't woken up by 10 a.m. I say that we can get drive-through breakfast, and my wife sends me out alone because she doesn't want to wake him up in the house by himself. She tells me that he'll be gone by the time that I get back. At 10:45, I get home and he's still there. My wife comes down and makes him coffee because we didn't get him anything, because he was supposed to be gone already. I told my wife point blank I wanted him to leave because this was our day together and we already had to change plans because of him. She said that would be rude, and we still had the whole rest of the day, just us. He ended up staying until noon. He didn't say a word to me as he sat at the table drinking coffee, and then he just fist bumped me goodbye. When he finally left, my wife asked how I thought it went. I expressed everything I described here. I told her his personality made me uncomfortable, he ignored me, made me feel like a guest in my house, I didn't appreciate him spending the night, etc., etc., etc. My wife said, "Well, thank you for being honest. I don't know how to respond to your concerns. It's important to me that you like him. I need to think about this." And shut the conversation down for now so that we could focus on our planned day. I don't know how to handle all of this. I do not like this man. Yeah, I'm getting terrible vibes from this guy as well. He just has absolutely no respect for you guys. Also, how unhinged is it to just bring an entire suitcase worth of clothes to just continually cycle through and try out on a first date, first meeting thing and turn up to the house in a suit? That sets the tone for someone that I'm like, you are not right in the head. What is going on here? Opie, honestly, if I was in your situation, I'd be saying, kick this man to the curb, let's block him, let's say, hey, it was fun, but, not feeling the vibes here, buddy. Anyway, in the comments, Rosephase says, "Wife, he isn't welcome in my home or around me. Date him elsewhere, and do not invite us both to the same places. I'm so sorry that you went through that. It sounds awful. I would be super worried that your wife does not seem to care about that at all, about how insanely rude her choices were, and how gross and out of line he was being. I would be clear that if she cannot figure out how to have guests in ways that don't violate your safety and comfort in your own home, that she is no longer welcome to have guests. And if she has no concern for how meeting metas goes for you, that you do not want to meet them anymore. She is honestly such a jerk in this situation. I can't imagine that this is the only time she is selfish and has no empathy for you." Pink Fingo says, "OP, so much this. I'm amazed that you managed to control yourself so well during all of this. Please make it blatantly clear to your wife that he is no longer welcomed in your home and enforce that boundary. I can't imagine having my safe place shit on so badly." There were so many instances of that's just how he is. Well, how he is kinda sucks. And the part with the outfit changes. She said the alternative was that she and he go into the bathroom while he changes. No, the alternative is that he go in a room by himself and get dressed like a big boy. This is where I would have ended the night. That's how he is not a valid excuse for shitty behavior. Nope, nope, nope. Worrisome Specimen says, "Wait, this guy made a choice that morning to put on a whole suit, then pack a change of clothes, then change down into a t-shirt and jeans right after breakfast because he was going out? Wow, I don't know what flex that's supposed to say other than, I'm incredibly unhinged. That whole thing was wild. Don't let this disturbed man back into your house. Tell your wife you'll have nothing to do with him, though her behavior throughout your post is troubling. I'm so sorry. What an unsettling and stressful experience." Quote, "incredibly unhinged. I know that was probably unintentional, but he is unhinged because the wife is absolutely not a good hinge. She's not even hinging badly, basically just doing nothing at all." And now onto the update, titled, Everyone Met My Wife's Boyfriend and Fears for Her Safety. A lot has happened since my last post. Using the advice that I got from r/polyamory, I set a clear boundary with my wife that I did not want to interact with her boyfriend again and that he was not welcome in the house while I was there. I expressly stated how uncomfortable he made me with specific examples. I used a lot of advice that folks gave here and I came to an understanding. True to form, I have not seen boyfriend since then. And then things got worse. I was out of town for the weekend and my wife had boyfriend over for 2 whole days. In that time, he met our 2 housemates and made them both extremely uncomfortable. He met my girlfriend's parents and made them extremely uncomfortable. And he and my wife had loud sex in the guest room at 2 a.m. and kept our roommate awake when she had work the next day. The roommate interrupted them because it was keeping her awake, and this was after they had set a house rule that they would not do this because it already happened once before. On Sunday morning, while I was away, I woke up to angry text messages from both our roommates describing what they called serial killer behavior. Both said they were furious and extremely uncomfortable. Interesting to me is they both described the same pretend to go to the bathroom to cover eavesdropping in the hallway thing I described in the previous post. This made me upset as I obviously wanted my housemates to feel safe. On my way home on Sunday, my mother-in-law called to say that she had Father's Day brunch with my wife and her new boyfriend, and he made the whole extended family extremely uncomfortable, such that they don't want to interact with him again. This was extremely irritating because my wife did not tell me that she intended to introduce the boyfriend to her family at all, which is also my family because of marriage and estrangement to my bio family. At this point, I say enough is enough. I had been texting my housemates and called a house meeting as soon as I got home. My roommate, who was kept awake, started by saying, "I hate this man, I never want to see him again. I am politely asking that you do not let him back in the house at all." Then my next roommate said something very similar, as did I. My wife asked if we all feel this way. I said, "Everyone you have introduced him to feels this way. Everyone." Realizing how badly the weekend had gone for everyone else, and that brunch hadn't gone as well as she thought, my wife was taken aback. As many people here on Reddit said, both my roommates said the boyfriend terrifies them, that he acts like a serial killer, and that they are concerned for her safety. My wife said, "Yeah, that's what I like about him." We went around stating what he had done to make us uncomfortable, and my wife started to shut down. She didn't try to defend him. She didn't say anything. She stopped responding until finally one of our roommates asked if she had anything to say. She said she wished we had told her this sooner because she had just said, "I love you" to him earlier that day, which was news to me. She asked why nobody had told her sooner, and the answer was that he was attached to her hip for 2 days, and he looks over her shoulder to read all of her phone messages. After a lot of discussion, my wife agreed that she would not bring her boyfriend around if anyone was at the house. She said that probably means he won't come back to the house at all. She also said that she wouldn't ask anyone to leave so he could come over, and that he wasn't invited to parties. Except that she had already invited him to an upcoming party at our house next weekend, and she wasn't strong enough to uninvite him, but also that she's afraid that everyone at the party will hate him and be made uncomfortable. Moreover, she told me that she's going to continue seeing him. While I understand this, it also made me a little sad. 2 weeks ago, she had said that if I ever hated one of her partners, then she and that person would not be compatible. At this point, her best friends, her husband, and her parents were saying they never want to see this man again, and that they are afraid for her safety, and she no longer seemed bothered. I don't know what is going to happen next. I am sincerely hoping he does not come to the party next week, and my roommates and my mother-in-law have each individually shared that they are afraid he is going to try to kill either my wife or me. In the comments, Xeno by Switch says, "Nope. He doesn't come to the house, period. Even if no one's there. Cancel the party. Seriously. Schedule another one later that he is not invited to. Also, make it a really hard boundary. If she brings him to the house, or invites him to, or brings him to an event there, it is a relationship ender. I doubt he wants to come to this party. His goal is probably to sever her from her support system by convincing her everyone hates him irrationally, and it is the two of them against the world. This Cancelling the party sends a clear message. You were serious. You were scared of this guy, and she should be too. She can get a dom. She doesn't need an actual tragedy. You believe this so hard that you won't risk him showing up, even if uninvited. Get the lawyers and start collecting information right now. Who cares if she doesn't feel strong enough to uninvite him? He's not allowed in your house. You don't want it. Roommates don't want it. If he comes, don't let him in. Period. Call the cops if he won't leave. If you fear for your safety, it's time to consider if your wife is a safe partner to be with. It's okay to say I love you, but I don't feel safe being with you if you're with him. You can't save her if she's willing to walk into a bad situation. You don't have to follow her into one either. I really like this advice. OP's wife will have to think long and hard about living somewhere else. Perhaps there is some mind control thing going on and she doesn't see it, or she's on a psychotic break given all the positives of their marriage prior to Crazy Man showing up. Your boyfriend seems like a serial killer. Yeah, that's what I like about him. Yikes on bikes. Let me clarify. Not a sexy in a dangerous way vibe. I mean bodies under the floorboards, wearing a skin suit. Okay, how about this? If he can get to, he seemed like a nice quiet man, at least he'll be an improvement before he chops us up and stashes us in the woods and/or freezer. I'd be deeply concerned about why the wife is self-sabotaging to the point she's getting her rocks off on the idea of this dude killing her. This man obviously is intentionally making everyone uncomfortable and loves every second of it. This is going to go terribly and possibly end his marriage. That marriage is doomed. She clearly wants this man more than she wants anything else. I'm sitting here thinking, you can still cheat on your partner in a polyamorous relationship. That's what this seems like to me. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.